Okay. Do you want to jump into this?
My body is ready.
Welcome to the Bayesian Conspiracy. I'm Eniash Brodsky.
I'm Steven Zuber.
And today we're addressing things that we've wanted to address for a while but haven't gotten around to just yet.
Such as?
Such as the fact that it is the 2-week anniversary of Petrov Day!
Yay!
I feel like a complete idiot because we didn't realize when we were recording, but our last episode came out on Petrov Day, which would have been a fantastic time to talk about Petrov Day.
So why don't you go over what Petrov Day is, then I'll say my one disappointing thing about it.
Okay.
Or why don't I put that up first before I forget? I heard the whole story is apocryphal.
It's not...
So it's a great, the apple fell on Newton's head kind of story. But
No, I mean, it may not be as dramatic as it was first portrayed to be, but that actually happened.
Oh, it must have, because he was actually fired.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so he's an actual dude who exists. Something like this happened.
There was an actual false, what do you call it? False positive, I guess,
right.
of missiles being launched.
Oh.
And he actually didn't retaliate as he was instructed to.
I think what I read was that it's possible that that retaliation wouldn't have occurred even if he had confirmed, if he had said go for it.
Yeah. No.
That's certainly possible. But the point is the buck stopped with him, and it might not have if he hadn't stopped it.
Exactly.
Okay,
there's another situation during the Cuban Missile Crisis where a submarine lieutenant, Arkhipov, refused to turn the key when his supervisor on the sub ordered him to launch the nukes. And, that also might not have been a nuke launching because there were other people on the sub too, and it may not have resulted in a launch and a nuclear war, but it was good that he stopped it where he did.
Totally. So let's go over the brief history of Petrov Day.
Oh, Petrov Day is on this day, not actually this day, September 26th of I don't remember what year it was.
1883 or 1983.
Okay, on September 26th of 1983, the Soviet Union was informed that the U.S. had launched a first strike nuclear salvo at them. And it turned out later to be the case that this was actually sunlight reflecting off clouds and pinging the Russian satellites that were watching for this for a nuclear launch. But it looked like a nuclear launch to them. And there was chaos and alarms going off, and this guy, Stanislav Petrov, was ordered to fire his nukes at the Americans, as is standard procedure for when you're under a massive nuclear attack, and he did not do so. He decided that, all things considered, he didn't want to destroy the human race, and given various... I'm not going to get into the whole details here because, we want to get into the rest of the episode, but we will link to the entire story if anyone's interested. There were other clues as well that when he saw them, he was like, this doesn't quite feel right to me. I'm not sure this is actually a nuclear attack. And he didn't launch the missiles. And as a result, the entire human race is saved. And as Stephen just said, it may not have resulted in a nuclear launch anyway. There was another layer of precaution. But the important part is that he did stop the chain at him when he had the ability to do so, and he eventually he was fired, he lost his military pension and all that, and that's what he got for saving the human race. And so we like to celebrate this day as a day when we all try not to destroy the human race and to thank those who are in a greater position to not do so. And, remember how fragile life is, and hope that someday he will be as well known as, a Kardashian or one of the other celebrities that everyone seems to know.
Yeah, because think of everything the Kardashians have given us.
Right.
We want to at least put Stanislav Petrov up there.
Right.
So, yeah.
At least as much as, really nice butt pictures.
And I think instead of linking to the Wikipedia page on Petrov Day, I'm going to link to the XKCD that explains Petrov Day.
Okay, or we should also link to the original Less Wrong post, which started the Petrov Day tradition.
That works too.
Yeah.
That might actually be linked in here somewhere, but because there's one of the explained ones, a few paragraphs underneath. Mm-hmm. But the picture's funny as always.
Yeah.
And it's somebody reading their phone, and she's like, "Hey, Wednesday was Stanislav Petrov Day. We missed it." And he says, "Oh shoot, I've got a calendar alert for it, but I assumed it was a false alarm."
Very appropriate joke.
Totally. And because we also missed it. Yeah. It's great.
It's true.
Couldn't be better.
No.
And then the title text is, "I was going to get you an alarm clock that occasionally goes off randomly in the middle of the night, but you can ignore it and go back to sleep and it's fine." Okay. So.
Did you hear about the Petrov Day celebration that went wrong?
I hope it didn't go as wrong as Petrov Day couldn't. Well, I'm trying to make a pun here about Petrov Day not happening. So
Right.
no, I didn't hear about it.
Okay, so since there are, a number of rationalists around the world at this point, and this
Literally
is
dozens of us.
yes, literally dozens, and this is kind of our only holiday. There's some people that, well, I guess there's also the solstice celebration, but this is one of the big ones. There's a number of people that got together and have had Petrov Day parties, and there is a game that some of the groups play where two parties will link to each other via server or some other method. In this case, they use a server, and in each party there's a big red button, and if someone in one party pushes the big red button, then the party that they're linked to across the nation or across, wherever the other party is, has to immediately shut down, douse the fire because there's a traditional fire going, throw away their cake, and everyone goes home. Like, the party's over. It's the equivalent of launching a party nuke, right? And they both managed to not press the button at all for the required amount of time. I think the game went on for like 4 hours or something.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound that hard.
Yeah. It was Seattle and Oxford that were playing.
Then again, war, not launching nukes doesn't sound that hard either. So.
Well, here's the funny thing. There were a few times where there were false alarms launched, to simulate the uncertainty of shit happening, and like, oh no, they launched us and they didn't retaliate and everything was okay. Once the game was over, one of the people in Seattle touched the button on the screen, just be like, haha, timer's over, let's just touch it, whatever. Their computer and the server weren't synced completely perfectly. They touched it literally 1 second after the timer ended on their end, but for the server still had a few seconds left, and so Oxford was told that the nuke had been launched. On the plus side, Oxford did not retaliate.
That's nice.
Yeah. So only half the world was destroyed.
That's about as wholesome of an example of like nuclear war that I can think of. So.
Yeah. That's also kind of like appropriate in that it shows just how easy it is through technical glitches to accidentally destroy the world, I mean, it's not quite the same level of problems that we have, but it was a great demonstration of exactly that problem. Like, there's lights shining off clouds, or there's warning depth charges going off, which you don't realize are only warning depth charges, or someone pushes a button 1 second after the game is over and things are out of sync.
Womp.
Yeah.
Hey, that's cool though. I love it.
Yeah. And I'll post. We'll post a link to that as well.
Totally. So, I had a quick. We've had a little bit of feedback on the AMA thread that's sitting on Reddit. If anyone ever wants to hit that. One here from Chibatron, which is one that we need to do a whole episode on. I just wanted to acknowledge that we've seen it.
Okay.
Because it came in 25 days ago, and all I did was like it. So,
Okay.
basically, are there any guides or how-tos for practicing rationality in everyday life? So there's it goes on to give some examples and things that they're looking for. But basically, we haven't done. I think we inject a little bits and pieces here or there, like living like a rationalist ought to live or tries to live or something. But that sounds like something we need to cover in depth at some point. So
Yeah.
we'll get some kick-ass rationalist on here to give us some example. Of course, another kick-ass rationalist, I should say. Right, of course. And then Chlorine Crown and I are going to keep talking via private message here on Reddit, but I wanted to bring up the public one because there's a generalizable lesson in it. So, and they wrote in 3 hours ago. So I have the huge difference between Chlorine Crown and Chibatron here. We didn't forget about you, Chibatron, but we didn't forget, but it slipped our minds. So, Chlorine Crown said, I'm thinking I want to change jobs and become a coder, and I remember you said you did it and it was easier than you expected. What was your path like? So I gave a quick response here because I did it via phone, but I'll go over it really quick and then I'll talk about why it's generalizable. So, obviously advice is hard and your mileage may vary, and just to calibrate expectations, when I said I thought it would be like inventing calculus hard and not just like tons of work hard. Because I mean, before I got into anything computers, I assumed it was just some black box of arcane knowledge that, what you couldn't get into unless you were coding your own games while you're still in diapers and stuff. And it turns out it's like, oh no, it's human readable, and if I can do it, anybody can do it. So
it's a skill like any other.
Yeah, totally. But I think, and this is the second generalizable lesson and this is something that I had to learn over and over getting into the field, is that there's this sense, at least for me, and it wasn't uncommon among other entry-level people, of just like, holy shit, I can't do this. This is too much. What do I do? I've never seen a problem like this before. the key is just to get over that. Like, everybody feels that way to start off, and it's totally normal. So you just need to find good strategies for getting over that challenge. And I feel like that's true for a lot of things. So anyway, if anyone wants to look at programming and never has before, there's a free book online called Automate the Boring Stuff, which is a Python tutorial. If you hate that, you'll hate coding. And if you find it fun and interesting, you might like it. So that's my first step I'd recommend to somebody, which was recommended to me by one of our guests on the show, Zeke Aran, who really got me into all this stuff. So thanks, buddy.
Cool.
And let's see. So the other lesson, or I guess the thing that related to it is, like, I don't know any car stuff at all, or really any repairs of anything. But like, me getting into coding was, I think, my first example or my first real, one of my first real serious attempts at, instead of the rationalist motto of like shut up and do the impossible, mine is just like shut up and actually try.
Okay.
Because almost nothing's as hard as at least as I think it is. Maybe, I think some other people have anxiety about stuff too, but it's more just like, I'll look at some problem and just assume, oh, it must be really hard. Otherwise I'd know how to do it. But why would that be the case?
Right.
So, like, just try, figure it out, especially if the cost to entry is low. So, I'm going to go to work on my my brother's going to help me. Well, rather, he's going to do all of it, and I'm going to get to help him replace my pads and probably my rotors on my car.
Cool.
Because I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And if I'm kind of, he knows what he's doing, so we're gonna do it. And I'm gonna get some practice. But it's just like a little thing of, I was like, I could take it to a shop and get this taken care of. He's like, nah, dude, screw that. It's $30 for pads. $25 for rotors. Like, let's just, let's save you $300. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. But I guess, it's just a little thing of, I have yet to come into something that, I guess I haven't tried that many very hard things, but most things that I've thought of, like, oh, that's too hard, I'm not going to try, they're not that hard, and you should try. And then if you can't do it, then it's like, all right, let's outsource and get some help or something, or whatever it is. But things are doable. Everyone's got this. So I think before you shut up and do the impossible, you should shut up and actually try.
Nice.
That's going to be my motto for the episode.
It's good motto.
Yeah. And it sounds a lot easier, too.
Wow.
I'm all about that easy path.
I got a quick feedback from Christopher James on our Patreon.
Cool.
He commented actually on the Patreon post, which was really neat. I was like, hey, awesome. I don't think I've seen this before. Christopher James says, could the intellectual dark web be a good example of owning bad associations? According to Eric Weinstein, the nature of the moniker is intentionally cringeworthy and jocular so as to preemptively get the jeering out of the way, or at least put it on the table. I don't know if you guys think this approach has any merit in the context of spreading rationality, but I couldn't help but notice the similarities during the episode when both came up. And yeah, I was actually Soylent. I thought had the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because when it first, the guy was first talking about it on his blog, and he was like, I would really like this product where I just like dump nutrition and calories into my mouth and can continue going on my day, I don't want to waste time cooking. I don't want to waste time cleaning. I don't particularly care about food that much. I just want fuel so I can focus on what I want to focus on. And first of all, I thought that was fucking brilliant, and I loved the entire concept of it. But yeah, he knew that people were going to have the reaction that they often do and compared immediately to Soylent. And he's like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm calling it Soylent.
I'm going to lean real hard into it.
Yeah, exactly. And now we all have Soylent, which we love.
Yeah, I like that. And I think to Christopher's point, I think there could be, but luckily, depends on the audience, rationality/rationalists doesn't have the same immediate connotation that intellectual dark web has.
I think it depends on if you've run into the term before.
It's definitely
like anyone who's run into rationalist before has some kind of pre-existing ideas. Maybe,
right.
Well, maybe not. I don't know.
Well, I think, like I said, it depends on the audience. Some people definitely do, and you'll just be like, you know what, fine, and you can run with it. And I like it to that. I think.
I get what he's saying, though, 'cause, like, dark web is, the place where you go to get drugs and child porn and stuff, right? And so intellectual dark web is just putting it out there like, yeah, a lot of people hate us and think that we're spreading shitty things, but we're just talking about stuff.
We're just ones who are gonna not be afraid to tackle the hard subjects, and
right.
And then there's that article that came out that was like that really got this around, and I'm not sure if Weinstein invented the term or made it up on Harris's podcast, or if they discussed it shortly after, and that's where it kicked off. But they were doing a live event together.
Okay.
And
And for those who couldn't see, because that would be everyone except for me, Stephen was like making sarcastic hand gestures when he said, tackle the tough subjects.
Oh, yeah. You guys can't see my gestures. I hoped to convey air quotes. I guess, the other main difference is that rationality and rationalism didn't start as a joke.
Right.
And this didn't really well, the name started as a joke.
Yeah.
But I do see where they're coming from. And to lean into that doesn't sound, I certainly don't think, if anything, this is definitely a case for not bothering to try and find a new name or something, which I can get behind. So I like that.
Cool.
Yeah. No, thanks for writing that.
Yeah. I think I had one more listener feedback, if we wanted to hit that before we jump into the rest of this show.
Yeah, totally.
Hanky USA says, I have ADHD, which requires me to employ large amounts of productivity tricks. This is back to our productivity episode a little while ago, and we will be having a part 2 at some point soon. Hanky says, I easily feel overwhelmed by small tasks or big tasks that have a clear and easy to apply solution. Pomodoro helps address this overwhelming feeling. I tell myself I will work on it for X amount of time and then I will take a break. I focus on that block and forget everything else. I just kind of sprint through the task without letting my emotional brain time to think about what an imposter I am or how I'm bound to fail. This works for tasks that would be overwhelming. If you find yourself saying, I'll just do one self-indulging distraction before I get to work on that thing that gives me anxiety to think about, then perhaps you should respond, I'll just work on it some benign amount of time before I enjoy a short bit of self-indulgence, which is where the timer helps. And sometimes when the timer goes off, it's like, yeah, I'm indulging right now. This is awesome. And other times just keeps going for a little bit longer anyway. They do mention that another way to help deal with the feeling of overwhelmingness is to break projects down into smaller components and just keep getting the smaller and smaller and smaller components until you get to one you can do. I actually heard that as a good way of dealing with depression too. Like if you can't quite tackle the task of like getting out and getting food or something, break it up into like, okay, I'm just going to get dressed. And if that's too much, you're like, okay, I'm just going to get out of bed. And if that's too much, it's like, okay, I'm just going to roll over onto my side and just keep going for the smallest possible task until you can actually accomplish that.
I think that's a good way to achieve really any goal, but certainly if you have a huge motivation problem. I think I mentioned before, like one little thing I do is, since now I have stairs in my place, if something belongs upstairs or downstairs and I see it on the floor I'm on, I never make a trip empty-handed. Another thing is, I'll try and tell myself like, all right, well, I need to get around to doing these dishes. For now, I'll just do the one on the top of the pile. I like doing the dishes, so I tend to just dive into it and finish them because it's one thing that I can get through and then see it clean and done 5 minutes later. And, whereas everything else, a lot of other chores don't really work that way. So I tend to do most of the dishes because I find it rewarding and I get to like clean myself as I'm doing it. It's like garbage I hate handling. So anyway, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to derail too much there.
No, that was cool too. They also say time limits can also help with perfectionism and completionism. I tell myself that I will do something for only so long and set the timer. I don't feel at liberty to obsess or doing everything just right. Once again, I'm sprinting, which is actually a really good point because lots of times I can get wrapped up like in perfectionism and I'm like, okay, this thing is not quite right. I gotta go back and adjust it a little and then keep going back and forth and I lose a lot of time that way. So if you got just that sprint time that you have to work on, it can help quite a bit.
That's a good point. And perfectionism where it's needed. But everywhere else, it's like, fuck it. Good enough is good enough. Yeah.
And then their final tip is separate planning and doing. It's hard to make the right decision in the heat of the moment. Trying to decide what you should do now is the moment you are most likely to make the choice that you would otherwise recognize to be wrong. Make plans for future you to execute, so future you won't have to think about it or decide in that moment. When it's time to execute the plan past you made, just submit to their will. They know better than you.
I like that a lot, and I've done that too, where I make pre-commitments to my future self in the conscientiously minded moment. Also, a lot of like these, divide up your tasks, plan ahead, and that sort of thing. That makes its way into like good lean development, whether you're working in software or like an assembly line. All that same sort of stuff of, get a small task, get as perfect as possible, plan ahead, that sort of stuff. So if you find that interesting, there's a great book on the history of lean that I can't remember the name of, or who wrote it, but you can probably go to the Wikipedia page for lean, Lean, I guess lean development, and look at basically like Toyota and other car companies invented this sort of stuff as like their assembly line deal. So
okay. Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Yeah,
okay.
It's dope. Like this was coming out with the introduction of like industrial organizational psychology, where instead of just like well, this will probably work, and that's just what people did since the Industrial Revolution. It's like, wait, what if we actually check to see what would work? And it turns out that when you do that, you can, build a bomber every 24 hours on a mile-long assembly line.
Damn.
During World War II, cool stuff like that. So, well, as cool as bombers are, but the feat is really cool. So, yeah.
Yeah, because bombers are not simple things.
No, totally.
Although I guess in World War II they were less complex than they are now.
But just think of the size of the finished products, but also the complexity of a mile-long assembly line, keeping everything stocked along the way and having everyone doing their little part as it moves through. That's pretty cool.
All right, yeah. Do we want to hit our main topic?
So I don't have much else to go on before we dive into the main topic, which I'm actually excited about because you sent this over, like a week and a half ago?
Uh-huh.
And it's long.
But
it's not as long. It doesn't feel as long as it is. And I'm actually eager to go back and read it again. But luckily, we took great notes. So we've got stuff to go into here that hopefully will give you enough of an insight to determine whether or not you want to read this.
Yeah.
I suspect many of you will. So we'll link to Mimetic Tribes and the Culture War
2.0.
2.0. Yeah, the Culture War 2.0.
This was I don't even remember how I got linked to this article, but I find this a fantastic summary of everything that's happening right now, and being able to put things in terms of actually looking at them and getting a handle on what's happening was really valuable to me.
Plus, it uses all the nerdy lingo that we know and love,
yes.
And it really sings to that part of my spirits. So
yeah, the guys who wrote this are definitely rationalist adjacent in some way.
Yeah, Peter Limburg and Connor Barnes are the authors.
So it is, as it sounds like, an article examining the current culture war and trying to make some sense of it, give some history of what happened, and maybe a few suggestions about what we can do going forward.
So we don't have the culture war defined in our notes here, but I'm going to just take a pot shot guess, and that it's how fucked up everything is interacting with your fellow humans today.
Yeah.
Is that a fair summary?
Well, I mean, there is actually a definition in here, but yes, it's basically everything we see around each other right now.
Yeah.
And the reason that you can't chat with anyone about anything anymore.
Yeah. Oh, and there's a definition here. Yeah, I was just being kind of flippant because it doesn't take a sociologist or a social psychologist to notice that things are not like they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even that old, so like if I'm noticing it, it's got to be something, right?
Right.
So, and they paint a really good history of where things got to this point just from like the last basically 5 years. Well, I guess 7.
10.
Yeah, 10.
I think 10 years at this point.
Was it 2001 or 2011?
2008 is when the financial collapse happened.
But 2011 was their first big event when the Occupy thing fell through because their mission statement was "We're unhappy."
Okay. Yeah.
Not trying to be disingenuous, but then again, I can't trust the Colbert Report as like the best source of anything, but other than making me laugh.
Yeah.
But he had on 2 leaders from the movement on the show,
yeah.
or he went and interviewed them or something. He was like, "So what is it that you guys want?" And they didn't really have an answer. And it's like, "So what's the grievance?" And they're just like, "Rich people have too much money." And don't get me wrong, that's true, but that's not like that doesn't have an attainable goal at the end of it, other than like, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
That's not really like an objective.
Right.
But anyway, I'm sure that there's much more to it, but that was my... All right, if I'm this tired early on, I got to get myself in gear. I'm going to stand up and stretch really quick.
All right, no problem. Yeah, we're jumping ahead a little bit. So, stepping back just a bit, the article is called Mimetic Tribes and Culture War, and so they think it's probably important to define both mimetic tribe and culture war near the top.
Anything that uses the word mimetic almost always has me immediately hooked.
Nice. So they define mimetic tribe as a group of agents with a memeplex that directly or indirectly seeks to impose its distinct map of reality, along with its moral imperatives, upon other minds.
Memeplex is basically what it sounds like. If you know what meme is, it's
an ideology.
Ideology is a good word for it. Yeah, that works.
So
but memeplex is more fun to say.
Yeah, to put it in, yeah, it definitely is. Well, I mean, and it I think points more directly to what an ideology is. It's a group of individual memes that are interwoven to be self-perpetuating,
right,
and self-reinforcing.
And having meme in the name of what they're talking about really paints the picture of this is because they talk about we talked about Tristan Harris. I know I'm jumping around, but we'll get it in order. They talk about Tristan Harris. His he worked at the Google something ethicist.
Yeah.
About how our attention isn't really under our control that much anymore, due to
our attention is the new scarce resource that everyone's fighting over.
Yeah, and we're constantly being hijacked with mimetic invasions or parasites, if you want to call them that, right?
Yeah.
So
And
I'll stop derailing us.
And just in case there's a confusion here, we're using meme not in the colloquial term of a funny image, but meme in the traditional definition of an idea that it reproduces itself.
Yeah, that's actually all right. Last derail. Well, who am I kidding? My last derail for the next 90 seconds. My first exposure to the word meme was like a couple years before it got popular, before the word meme was memeified in common culture. It was from Richard Dawkins. I think he's the one who he didn't coin the word,
I
but
believe he is the one who coined it.
He says he's not.
He's not. Okay.
He popularized it.
Definitely.
In 1975 with his book The Selfish Gene, and he was looking for an example of something that could mutate, and it was basically an allegory for evolutionary change. But rather than have its chain go down through generations, it goes across populations. And he said, I could have done computer virus if those were around back then, but it happened to be memes, and that took off. Yeah. And now memes is any picture with captions under it or whatever you want. So
yeah.
All right, ready to go.
Yeah. So basically, in easier terms, it's a group of people with an ideology that want to spread the ideology. And I'm going to, I got several quotes out of here that I just dropped in, and I'm more or less going to read them exactly as they appear. The new mimetic tribes share, to varying degrees, a few characteristics. Most are unscrupulously optimistic, in quotes, meaning they see social problems as soluble through large-scale adjustment. They see themselves as spokespeople for larger groups, whether that be regular folk or the marginalized. At the same time, they see their existence or their prime value as under threat. They do battle both online and off, and crucially, their mimetic warfare is just as much about firing up members and creating converts out of non-combatants as it is about winning particular battles.
And they did a great job putting this line near the top, because this summarizes exactly what we were trying to, when I was throwing out a bullshit definition of culture war, right?
Yeah.
This is exactly what's happening. And then because we were both adding notes to this throughout the day, and I was going to add that exact quote, and then I saw that you already did. Cool. So I added the next short paragraph, which I thought was just as good, and it was part of what I was going to add. So I'll try and read that one. Well, everyone vote who's reading voice more. I already know who's going to win. So the next line, from the perspective of the tribal memeplex, the ideal host exists in a state of permanent agitation and interprets all phenomena through the memeplex's filter. In short, a paranoid ideologue. Memeplexes that have not agitated their hosts into reproducing them will lose out to those who do. There's only so much room inside your head, and ideology expands to fill the available space.
Yeah, that was also a damn good quote.
Yeah, it was great.
They then define culture war as the mimetic war to determine what the social facts are at the core of a given society, or to determine society's boundaries of the sacred and the profane. And since social fact was not a term familiar to me, I looked at it, or I looked it up rather. A social fact is a way of acting, whether fixed or not, capable of exerting over the individual an external constraint.
Luckily, they linked to the Wikipedia definition of that word in the article because I had to click it too. So.
Yeah. And it's things like the concepts of marriage or of kinship or honor or things that are not physical facts about the world, but they are social realities which constrain how you can behave.
I saw this as a probably weak example, but it's appropriate. There was a Change My View thread on Reddit in the last day or two. Someone was complaining about tipping. This comes up like once a month.
Yeah.
Tipping shouldn't be a thing.
Tipping's a good one.
And everyone's like, it's not obligatory. The poster is like, but it kind of is.
Yeah, totally.
And it's like, yeah, exactly, it is. You're an asshole if you don't. That's the social truth.
Yeah.
So, yes, it's not required. They will, in theory, be paid minimum wage, though if you know any service workers who live on tips, they definitely almost are never paid out minimum wage if they don't make enough. Yeah. So it's one of those things like I was going to make an example from a movie, but it's not important. So moving on.
And yeah, you do see them changing quite a lot too. Just a few years ago, I was reading a book which came out not too long ago, where the word retarded is used quite a bit. Because back then it was still okay to say. It was like, yeah, how do you refer to something that's really lame or stupid? Like, that's retarded, dude. Now you can't say that anymore.
Yeah, actually, fun fact about that, and I'll need to double check, but I'm confident enough to put this on the air and go on the record for saying this. I know somebody who is in their 60s and they live with their adult sister who is mentally retarded. That was her diagnosis because she's in her 50s. Mm-hmm. And so when she was diagnosed with retardation 50 years ago, because she was a child when she was diagnosed, that rode through up until sometime during the Obama administration. And when that was removed as like a legal diagnosis, they removed her benefits.
Oh
And
shit!
so because that's not what we call it anymore. So she's better now, right?
Oh my God.
So they got her back on, but there was a few hairy months where there was nothing coming through to help support the full-time care that she needs or anything like that. So that was kind of interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. So not only can you not say it, but you also can't legislate it anymore.
Right. Wow.
Which I'm in favor of that. It's, language policing is iffy, and this article talks about Jordan Peterson and his firm stance on that. But at the same time, I'm a big fan of this, sort of my general policy on language policing.
Mm-hmm.
In general, I'll be descriptive in a way that's not asshole-ish if I can, and if I'm told it's asshole-ish by somebody who is an authority on the subject, I'll change my general descriptors.
Mm-hmm.
But in person, I'll say whatever someone wants.
Mm-hmm.
I think we talked about the word black before as as terms like Black American, as opposed to Native or African American.
Yeah.
And I always said Black American because not all Africans are black.
Mm-hmm.
Not all black people are from Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And it always struck me as weird to say, "Oh, you're black, you must be from Africa," in this kind of like weird, like, you're not from here sense.
Okay.
Which you don't do that with, other white people or even other like not black people. You don't do Mexican American or Puerto Rican American for the most part.
I think you do some people
you do
Mexican American
if they're from Mexico.
Right.
But not if they've been here for 300 years.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the part that always irked me. But if someone in person wants me to call them African American, I'm all over it, and I'm not going to protest to them.
Yeah.
But then my other joke, I'm sorry, I'm derailing us too
Yeah,
much.
go for it.
Elon Musk is African American, right? He's
Oh,
from
because he's from South Africa. Yeah.
So on paper.
Yeah.
And then there's that person who applied to college a few years ago, also from South Africa, I think.
Okay.
And she got affirmative action benefit, perks for applying to different colleges. And when she got there and she was white, there was some kickback.
Oh.
But she was African American. Her family was from Africa.
Yeah. So I know someone personally who I'm not going to give out name here because she wants to put this whole thing behind her. But she wrote a number of stories which were well received, and she used a pen name, and the pen name she used was the nickname that her grandmother called her. And she was actually born in South Africa. Her parents are South African, but they're the Dutch South African. They're white. And her parents, interestingly, fought against apartheid like hardcore and were eventually stripped of, I think, most of their possessions and kicked out of the country for their fight against apartheid. But anyways, she had a nickname that her grandma called her. She used it as her pen name. And the nickname, I mean, it's a collection of vowels and consonants and stuff that you just call a kid when they're all cute and young. But it kind of sounds like it could be sort of African. And like a African ethnic sort of name.
Would giving away the name tell who you're talking about?
Possibly.
Okay, that's fine.
And she comes from South Africa. And like she didn't ever make a big deal about this. She just wrote some stories. But at one point, a anthology contacted her and was like, "Hey, we'd like to include your story in our anthology of African American writers." And she was like, "That's totally cool. You can do that if you'd like, but just so you know, I'm white." And she explained the situation, and there was like a scandal. People were like, "How dare you represent yourself as black and use this ethnic name?" And she was like, "No, this was what my grandma called me." And yeah, and she abandoned that pen name, and it's just never going to write under that name again. Yeah,
that's lame. No one should made you feel bad.
I agree, and I mean that was really shitty. But yeah, that sort of thing can and does happen.
Man, that sucks.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, getting back onto the language thing, I don't know. I agree that, words like gay or retard are bad and hurt people, but, it feels weird because there's always going to be insults, and insults are going to be like calling people weak or calling people stupid, right? And
yeah.
So people who actually are those things are going to feel bad. And I mean,
well, you can't say stupid anymore either.
Oh, you can't say stupid now?
You can't say stupid. You can't say crazy.
Yeah, I knew you couldn't say crazy. That was
crazy,
the one I was about to bring up.
Crazy actually bugs me. Well, okay, we're way far afield.
Yeah, but the loss of crazy bugs me too. Some ideas are genuinely crazy, and I think you should be able to call them crazy.
And especially in a way that isn't pejorative.
Yeah.
Because what else can you say to deliver what you're trying to say? There was that guy who wrote a book a couple years ago. He was on Julia Gayla's podcast, and this wasn't the point of why he was on, but he changed the name of the book. It was How to Think Like a Crazy Philosopher, which conveys exactly what the guy was writing what was the ideas in this book. And I don't know what he changed the name to, but it wasn't going to be, it wouldn't convey the same shorthand message. That's part of the problem with euphemistic language in the first place, is that it's almost necessarily, first of all, it's almost necessarily more syllables, which is annoying.
Right.
But it's more vague and less clear and
well, and it'll always spread. I mean, when I was a kid, the term that you used for intellectually disabled people was special. They were special kids, and then that became used as an insult because everyone would be like, "Oh, you're one of those special kids, aren't you?" And like whatever the term is for someone who has that disability, it's always going to get turned into an insult.
Well, special isn't okay to say anymore. I don't know what is, because some things are special and awesome.
Yeah.
But again, it depends whether or not you put a sting on it, right?
Right.
There was a famous comic who must not be named who had a joke about that Jew is the one ethnic group that is both the accepted term and the pejorative term, depending on how you say it.
Yeah.
And if you can put a bad spin on special, you can do it to literally anything, right? So yeah.
There just reminds me of that This American Life episode where there's a Jewish producer and he's talking to one of his coworkers, and the coworker would not use the term Jew around him. He's like, "But I'm a Jew," and he's like, "It's okay for you to say it.
It just doesn't feel right to say."
Yeah.
And we're not going to say the other word that that other people that even if given permission to say, you might feel weird about saying. So, yeah, all right. I was going to try and just buy myself a ticket to that intellectual dark web by volunteering it, but I really want to earn that seat. So
Yeah.
we'll have to take a dark picture in the bushes outside.
That's right.
All right.
You got to earn this. No free cheap tickets for you, sir.
Deal.
All right. Getting back into the article, we will go through the summary of parts. They identify 6 things that have brought us to where we are now.
Do we want to name what they are in broad strokes really quick and then go into each of them in detail?
No, because I always forget lists like that. I say we just go through them one at a time.
Let's do it. There are 6.
Yes.
If you lose count, there's 6.
Okay. The first is the secularization and meaning crisis. Did you want to read that first line since you put those in?
Yeah, I'll read the short ones. You'll read the long ones.
Okay.
Be a good trade-off. The secularization and meaning crisis. The meaning crisis weakened our collective understanding of what ought to be, is the short summary.
And the longer quote I pulled out was, secularization theories predict an untethering of religious authority from society would bring about a widespread embrace of rational and scientific worldview. And let me just pause right here. God, I'm so sad that didn't happen. I see those kind of steampunk era, I know it's not steampunk, but Enlightenment era people, they're like, yes, we are finally overcoming the shackles of religion, and now everybody is going to be, scientific and the progress of man, and now we are enlightened, and God, it didn't happen.
It just ran for new shackles.
Yeah. And it was, because you'd think, I would have thought anyway. I would have been one of those people. I was like, yes, we're breaking free.
Luckily, we're both perfectly sane. So.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
Obviously.
It continues. Nowadays, multiple viewpoints compete with Christianity for control over the social narrative, because they were saying earlier in the article, Christianity used to provide all the meaning, all the narrative that ran life. It was the big overarching structure that let you make sense of your life.
By the way, this whole thing's just about the Western world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Since that's where our culture war is taking place.
But I don't think we said that. So.
Okay, that's a good point. But every region had their own religion. It was always a religion that did this thing.
Totally.
This society-wide secularization has given rise to the meaning crisis, which we define as a meaning famine, where numerous contenders are competing to satiate our meaning hunger. So yeah, now we're searching for meaning, and instead of finding it in science and rationality, people are scrabbling for crystals and Bigfoots and UFOs and shit.
Deepak Chopra-esque spirituality and that sort of stuff, yeah.
Mimetic tribes offer one solution: a raft to navigate the open seas. Their totalitizing worldviews and the roles they provide are an attempt to satiate the meaning hunger in the meaning famished. And I will just say I totally see that in some of the people that I know that get really into some of these things. It seems to be a lot because they don't have anything meaningful in their life, and they see this and they're like, yes, I can change society. I can help these people that have been oppressed by the colonizers or whatever, and it becomes their thing that makes their life mean something, and because everyone needs their life to mean something, right? Otherwise, you sink into depression and smoke pot all day.
Why does this sound familiar? Kind of like that rationality thing I've been hearing a little bit about.
Right.
I'll just go ahead and dodge that by saying some rafts are sturdier than others. All right.
But yeah, the step one is the collapse of Christianity that provided meaning to everyone, and now people are searching for meaning.
And part two is the fragmentation and reality crisis. The reality crisis fractured our collective understanding of what is. And anyone who heard the Sam Harris episode with, who's that comic book, or that strip comic writer?
Oh, Scott Adams.
Scott Adams. Dilbert. He was a nightmare to listen to, but the two narratives thing, yeah, exactly. He brought this up exactly.
And the two movie screens,
yeah,
and each side can only see one, and they're showing a different movie.
There you go. And they bring up that in the article, but they say it's worse than that. It's like a Netflix smorgasbord of things, not just two. Used to be kind of just two.
Yeah.
Now it's 60. I'm making up a number.
Yeah. Now you can view it through the lens of the
literally anything,
white supremacists, or the crazy people who think the lizard men aliens are behind everything. Or was that the QAnon thing, the lizard men, or were they some other conspiracy?
I think lizard men's older. I'm not sure how old QAnon is, but
QAnon is pretty recent.
If anyone
no, QAnon was like the entire Democratic Party is a front for child pedophilia, right?
I'll take it. I had never actually heard of QAnon before this article, so.
Oh, really?
Luckily, I live a happily sheltered life, so.
Okay.
Speaking of lizard people, though, anyone who's gone through DIA in the last few weeks has noticed that they're under construction, and their signs are leaning really hard into the conspiracy jokes. It's great.
It's awesome. The article says, this fragmented array of narratives has caused a reality crisis, for without some semblance of consensus reality, constructive cooperation becomes extremely difficult. This results in what Lyotard calls a differend, a situation where conflicting parties cannot even agree on the rules for dispute resolution. Moreover, there is a lack of agreement on what the conflict even is. Collective understanding problems of what reality is amplify collective action problems of what reality should be. And also, grassroots and underground media productions keep the tribes up. Oh, well, actually, let me get to that in a second. But, yeah, I thought, I also feel like I've seen that. I have, like, you see the two sides talking about the news issues these days, and they're, like, just radically different.
Yeah, it's, so I highlighted the part, a situation where conflicting parties cannot even agree on the rules for dispute resolution. It's remarkable, even seeing people try to politely play the middle on some of these, that, I would like to think through practice, I'm above average at reaching across the ideological aisle. And I think I am. I did a good job, of keeping a level head in this and just finding things that like we could all agree on. We were debating the Kavanaugh, I don't know how to say his name.
Oh, Kavanaugh,
the alleged serial rapist that Trump nominated for Supreme Court justice.
Who was the we, if I may ask?
Oh, coworkers at lunch last Friday. And nobody seemed for it, but one guy who was trying to play the middle too hard was arguing basically how bad it was that this was, being a thing. Because his family votes right, and he, thinks they're, and, he I think fairly says, they're not idiots. They think what they think for the right, for what seem to them good reasons. And the guy on my left, so this guy sitting across from me, and then the guy on my left is like, nope, our Republicans are stupid, and like that's his position. I'm like, look, you guys, he's being, the guy across from me, I'm gesturing straight ahead, is being more generous. You need to like not paint with such a broad brush.
Yeah.
These people, anyone who votes a different way than you is doing for what seem to them good reasons, even if their reasons are objectively terrible. They're not just stupid. If that's your explanation, you're not thinking hard enough. But I mean, just these we're all leftist nerds who all agree, but even like trying, I don't know, this seems like a relevant to bring up the ideological Turing test, which I think we talked about before.
Yeah,
does that come up later in the post?
It does come up later in the post, but
good. I skimmed a bit, so then if it comes up later, then it's probably more appropriate there.
Okay.
So we'll save it.
It's weird. I have a friend who's like kind of on the left, and when the Brett Kavanaugh thing came up before the testimony, he was like, "Oh well, looks like the Democratic Party is going to shoot itself in the foot again, per usual." And I'm like, "What?" Because apparently, like all his family and a lot of his friend circle are more right leaning, and they just see like Democrats throwing a hissy fit and over nothing, I guess, over like someone getting drunk at a party and groping someone drunkenly. I don't even know. It's hard for me to see it, but yeah, apparently,
I guess even if you were to
they
interpret
just see
this,
different things.
Yeah. So I mean, one way to view this thing is like all these women are liars, and they're just coming out now just to stir, kick mud and do this.
Well, I mean, they could think like that they're oversensitive, over exaggerating, like someone stole a kiss at a party and they are traumatized for life.
That's not what many of these descriptions include.
I know, but that's what they see.
Oh, well, that's fine. So yeah, if you're gonna say,
if you've ever met someone who does blow things way out of proportion, which I've met one person who does, I was like, I don't remember what the situation was now, but I remember hearing them tell the story, and I was like, dude, I was there when that happened. That is nothing like what you're describing. It was like some minor thing, and it was being blown up into this like, my honor was questioned and my life was on the line and I could have been seriously injured. And I was like, whoa.
That will actually come up probably in the belonging crisis and weaponized in the warfare crisis probably.
Yeah, but I'm not. I have written already a whole blog post about how much I hate fucking Brett Kavanaugh. So I'm not on his side. I'm just saying how different the things that people are seeing are, and how it can be like portrayed that way by their media and by their social reality, that it's not that we're discussing rape and we're like shocked that they can be so cavalier about someone attempting to rape someone. We're literally discussing two very different events.
Right. And I guess, and when I had said that's fine earlier, what I meant was if that's what they're going to say their narrative is, that's fine. But if you're going to, I guess what I brought to the table was like listening to these guys talk. And then I was like, look, we can just, however this goes down, we can agree that refusing to call witnesses because they will either have to say that it's strongly believed that they'll either have to say incriminating things or perjure themselves. So if you're refusing to call witnesses, you're probably on the wrong side. And that's true no matter what. If you have to lie or hide the truth to defend yourself, you're not defending the truth. That's not a political statement. So it's, I don't know, that was just my throw into their thing. What's the third bullet point here we have under the fragmentation and reality crisis?
Quickly before we move on, one of the things in that section was talking about how these ideas get spread to the groups, to the meta groups. Grassroots and underground media productions keep the tribes up to date on opinions. And I'm like, and they say with wildly different perceptions of the same event, but that kind of struck close to home. Are we a grassroots or underground media production, Stephen? Are we keeping our tribe up to date on opinions?
No one fact check us.
Please, God, no one fact check us. We post all these little links for no reason at all.
Yeah. No, by all means do. Yes, and we are.
I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
I like talking with you about community stuff. I don't. From the inside, it doesn't feel like I am part of a gigantic war that's bringing all of our society down. No,
if anything, we're doing the opposite. But that's what everyone thinks. So I don't know. Yeah. I did notice, speaking of liking doing this, that this is like my social outlet for doing things, or my replacement for social media, basically. Because we started doing this in February of 2016, sounds right?
I think so.
And I think I stopped using Facebook in November of that year.
Okay.
Or maybe it was the following year. But whenever it was, I don't get that much of a compulsion to shout my thoughts to the internet.
Yeah.
And so I'm able to save it for every couple of weeks and get it all out at once.
That's
and
awesome.
I think this is a much better replacement. Yeah. So
I still have to shout on my blog too.
I haven't been caught up in a Facebook fight in years, and it's great.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I strongly recommend someone try it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Everyone should have their own podcast.
Yeah, have their own podcast, or just get rid of Facebook. Or I'm not going to
get rid of Facebook.
I do think this is a wagon worth jumping on and saying that everyone should get off Facebook. Yeah. But
I get
it sounds cliched to get on that wagon. So what I'll say instead is try going without it for a week. You'll probably notice like this weird separation anxiety of like I'm missing out on stuff. What's happening here?
Yeah.
But then, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that especially if you're one who gets heated on Facebook somewhat frequently, as many people do because of all the shit we're talking about here.
Yeah.
It's refreshing to say, you know what, I'm going to sit this one out. And then you sit out enough of them, and then no one expects you to get involved in it anymore. Yeah. So it's great.
Much of my Facebook use is like more of a bulletin board service. Like half my links that I get are from interesting people sharing them on Facebook. I'm pretty sure I saw this linked on Facebook as well, which is where I first got it, although I'm not positive about that. Could have been a different source.
That's true. So that's something to think about. Is you got to supplement your media income from somewhere else, and luckily I outsourced it to people like you and Zeke and other people who send me fun things. So,
but I basically don't socialize on Facebook anymore.
That's probably a good call.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those things that like this is a new social media is like a new tool, and it will probably be at a really cool place with it in a generation or so. But just imagining what it could be like in 40 years is weird, right?
Yeah.
Because of how far it's come in the last 10
Yeah.
or 15, whenever MySpace came out. So, I don't know. It's a precarious situation. It's already such a powerful thing. It has me wary of it, like an old man. Get off my lawn. So,
right.
All right.
Atomization and the belonging crisis.
All right. The belonging crisis took away a genuine feeling of community.
The belonging crisis is, the process by which individuals come to experience themselves primarily as separated individuals who are not part of a greater whole. The freedom that comes with this is accompanied by feelings of isolation, alienation, and depression, which is another problem with the whole breakdown of the meaninglessness, right? The atomization is the same kind of thing, because when you're part of a group, even like a large, close-knit, extended family that has some kind of goal, you're still a group and you have meaning in your life through how you contribute to them, right? But the more atomized you are, the less meaning there is, because we find meaning in other people for the most part.
And then the more atomized you are, and they might talk about this. I did skim through because we took the best notes for this section of this part.
Yeah.
Maybe they talk about this, but I imagine the more atomized you are, the more susceptible you are to joining some fringe, scary style thing.
They actually say that just a few lines later. Yeah,
perfect.
I got that right after it.
Oh, yeah, I'm dumb.
It's all right. To mitigate loneliness, anxiety, and other adverse conditions that lack of belonging brings, people are primed to fly into the arms of others. All they need is an offer of togetherness and a few convincing memes.
I'm not dumb. I'm smart. I anticipated what these geniuses were going to say.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
I imagine the more shunned and atomized you are, the more likely you are to find an online community, like r/incels or, some hate group. In fact, there was that reformed neo-Nazi that was on Sam Harris's podcast last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they get all their members, right?
That was a fantastic episode.
Yeah. It was emotional enough to put me in a weird mood too. It was intense. I remember I was like at the store listening to this and I'm like, I need to go out to my car. Like I finished shopping and stuff, but it was just like, holy shit. It was great. So that was one with Christopher. You know what? If I Google Sam Harris neo-Nazi, I'm not going to get that episode. So
you don't think?
I bet I'll find something else.
I will.
In any case, it's search on there for Christopher something. It's in the last year of his episodes. That's a bad reference. My bad. I'll link to it if we have to. All right, fair enough.
Cool. So yeah, these are the things that help tribal memetic tribes exist. And then we go on to globalization and the proximity crisis.
You know what? I should have put the summary at the end, but whatever. The proximity crisis removes distance from conflicting views.
They say, the internet pornifies our private lives, including our political views, leaving nothing to the imagination. When everything is laid bare, respect vanishes, for our proximity exposes all of our ugliness. This manifests in what psychologists call dissimilarity cascades, meaning the more we know about someone, the less we like them. And environmental spoiling, meaning proximity with those we don't like spoils the environment as a whole. Mutually exclusive memeplexes have no distance from one another thanks to the global village. This is the proximity crisis. Good fences make good neighbors, and the power of media has flattened all social fences.
That's not one I think I could have guessed, thought about from my armchair, and that's a really good one, because it's staring you in the face once you see it. But yeah, like name any insane fringe group that exists. And there was actually a great XKCD about this just a few days ago, where it was that one, it was the exact same drawing of that one of the guys poring over the computer. Honey, come on. And it's like, no, someone's wrong on the internet.
Yeah.
I started this really annoying thing. I need to see if anyone online actually believes this so I can be mad at them. And somebody does. And there's no looking for them because they're one Google search away, right?
Yeah.
Or they're on your Facebook or they're on Reddit or whatever it is. So there's no shortage of people to be mad at, even though you would never see them in real life because they're so small and fringe. Their fringes don't exist anymore like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fringes exist. They're no longer that far away from you.
Right.
Yeah.
It used to be like, my neighbor over there, he's pretty cool. Like, he lent me power when he had the fire here, and I couldn't do anything without any power. I ran an extension cord to his place. He's a pretty chill guy for the most part. He seems kind of like a dude, bro. I don't think I would like him if we, had to hang out all the time, but I see him every now and then. I'm like, hey, what's up? He's like, hey. Sometimes we chat for, a minute or two about, the dog or whatever. And that's cool. That's a good measure of distance. I'm happy to have this relationship with him. But if, he was in my living room on my computer every single fucking day posting about, how he loves the sports ball and the beer and bitches and hoes, I'd be like, the fuck, I must start a movement to expunge you from the earth.
That summarizes my sense of I can't think of the word. That summarizes my empathy for anyone in the service industry. Because there's no telling them to get the fuck away from you, right?
Right.
That's why when I was in the service industry for like 4 years delivering pizzas, I delivered. And you know, it was a small enough place you could do whatever you wanted. So, but the best thing about delivering is my interactions were necessarily very short, and I was great for like 90-second intervals. But if I just talk for some customer for 2-3 minutes, and it goes on, and every customer is an idiot if you ever worked customer service, then I get annoyed and I can't handle it. So that's why I only lasted 6 months at the bank, because nobody who knows what they're doing goes to the bank, and nobody knows what they're doing goes to the bank 4 or 5 times a week.
Right.
There were a dozen people that came through our small branch that would come through 4 or 5 times a week.
What were they doing?
Fuck if I know. I mean, I can tell you what they did when they were in the branch, but I think they're just there because they're bored or something. They'd come and like check on their balance, or they'd come and withdraw $20, or come and withdraw in cash from one account, move it to another account, and like,
weird.
I know, because they could do this all from their toilet on their phone.
Maybe they really were just like lonely and wanted to see a human.
Yeah, or maybe they feel like a receipt makes it real or something. But like a receipt exists at the branch. Like, you know, if the one I give you in the branch is real, so is the one that happens online. And if I'm gonna lie about the one online, I can give you fake receipt in the branch. And then people come in and just do the dumbest thing. You know, like some guy come in, toss his card at me, and I'm like, "And what's your account number?" And he's like, "I'm not gonna say it out loud. Get it off the card."
Damn.
And I'm like, first of all, don't be such a prick. And second of all, your account number and routing number, full name and address are on every check you write. Are you kidding me that this is some secret information? Don't be a. You're not even being good at security right now.
Yeah.
God. Anyway, so you can see, even years distant, the horrors of customer service last with me, and that's because the proximity crisis to other people that suck.
Right.
Bringing it back.
Yeah.
All right, we've got the stimulation and sobriety crisis as the 5th part here, and the sobriety crisis reduced our agency and turned us into addicts.
Yeah.
And this talked about what I was getting at Facebook. I think this is where they bring up Tristan Harris.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is basically where they explain superstimuli, which I think is tying together points 4 and 6, and they had to put this in here to explain that. But I'm assuming most of our listeners are already familiar with the concept of superstimuli. It's things like a Snickers bar, which has a combination of fat and sweetness and cocoa that you would never find in nature, but exists nowadays, and so it overwhelms all our natural instincts to seek out that sort of food, which is very bad for us, but it is,
it hits all the notes that our ancestors wanted at intense levels.
Yes, exactly.
And there are good versions of that too.
Yeah.
Like music.
Yeah.
Music, art. Even tasting something that isn't necessarily bad for you or having it in moderation that's why it feels good.
They bring up the example of the Beatles. I forget which kind of beetle it is, but
yes, there's a little picture.
Yeah, there's beer bottles that look like a super attractive female beetle, like so much more attractive. It hits all the things that the male beetle looks for in a sex partner is attracted to. They will just have sex with these beer bottles until they die of dehydration.
Or get eaten by ants, and they'll continue to bang these bottles in the presence of female beetles.
Yeah. Because the female beetle can compare to this bottle.
This actually ties in really well to something I just finished doing this afternoon. And I can't remember why this came up. It was relevant to something else we were just watching. So I was showing Rachel the episode of Futurama, which I think is the finale of season 3. I forget what it's called. Now that sucks. But it's one where Fry is dating that Lucy Liu bot.
Oh, right.
And we're both big fans of Lucy Liu, and she did the voice for this, which is hilarious. And so basically, it's the future. You can clone whatever robot, whatever personality you want into a robot, and then it'll make out with you and love you. This is the superstimulation of that beetle reminded me of this, because that's not that unimaginable. It'll probably be in some digital form before it's in robots actually touching us. But there's going to be a point where fake mates are more appealing than real mates. And anyway, that's exactly what in the Futurama episode. There's this propaganda film that they show everybody in the year 3000, but Fry never saw because he's from the year 2000.
Yeah.
And it's like, this guy's sitting in his room making out with his Marilyn Monroe bot, and he's missing out like a chance to like get a job and have a date and procreate and all this stuff. And then, the next day, his planet exploded. What was that planet? Earth. Anyway, yeah, just like that.
Well,
Couldn't be more relevant. I challenge you to disagree.
no, I do not disagree at all.
Excellent.
Their actual quote that we pulled is evolutionary trap. Adaptive instincts turn maladaptive due to exposure to supernormal stimuli, magnified and more attractive versions of evolved stimulus. Humans are just as fallible. Whether it be junk food, laugh tracks, pornography, or likes on social media, these artificial triggers addict us and hijack our agency. And I think they really brought that up so they could get into weaponization and the warfare crisis.
Which I want to get into immediately after this, but the social media thing I wanted to just hit for one more beat, which was this is where they brought up Tristan Harris talking about our attention hijacking. And, fuck it, we're doing this. We see our download numbers. Mm-hmm. It's nice to watch them go up. Mm-hmm. And it hits a vibe that is very primal because, imagine giving, I don't know how, I can make up a Just So story of how this sort of thing evolved, but, it'd be a lot like giving a speech, to somebody or giving a talk to 10 people and then, doing another one to 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And that feels 100 times better, right? It just, it really hits you. So, anyway, they talk about the get off Facebook ideas a little bit in that section too. So,
which was also very valuable.
Yeah. So that does lead us into the weaponization and warfare crisis. And the warfare crisis transformed our minds into weapons for hidden wars in plain sight.
And the big quote that I pulled from this is outrage porn is the supernormal stimuli of the culture war.
Yeah, and that's a good summary of it. I like that a lot. Yeah. And I pulled out a bigger quote, which you guys are going to have to suffer through me reading, which is, I did like an ellipsis, ... It was some book that it was written in like the 92, 94, and it advises, and I didn't get the name of it, it's an article, it advises Russian operatives to, quote, introduce geopolitical disorder into internal American activity, encouraging all kinds of separatism and ethnic, social, and racial conflicts, actively supporting all dissident movements, extremist, racist, and sectarian groups, thus destabilizing internal political processes in the U.S., unquote. After the Cold War, Russia, no longer competitive with America in hard power, pivoted to an aggressive soft power to regain their geopolitical influence.
Yeah.
And anybody who's followed politics in the last 2 years has very good reason to believe that they've been very successful at that.
And I think it's worth pointing out, I believe we covered this also in our episode on basically this exact topic, that the analysis have been done on the sorts of articles that get shared, and the more outrage provoking an article is, the more it gets shared. It is a mimetic fitness trait to be as outrage provoking as possible, because that will get your supporters to share it, and that will get the people who are on the opposite side to share it as well in outrage that they're being portrayed this way. It's like they said, outrage porn is what we have been running on for a while now, and I'm kind of getting tired of it, which is kind of nice, but I'm not sure everyone else is at the same rate as I am.
And it's a horrifying ingredient that it's horrifying that this ingredient is so successful. Mm-hmm. Again, the more outraging, the more it's shared by both sides, and the fact that you're going to start sitting these out, somebody, maybe not you, but if you were a more involved in some of these outrage fights or something, then you said, you know what, I'm going to sit this one out. They're going to say, both sides will say, see, he's complicit, or see, he's with us.
Right.
And yeah, this is sort of a bleak picture, but we'll get to the hopeful part later on. So
cool.
All right.
So then they dive into Culture War 2.0, and you actually touched on exactly what they're about to say here. They first talk about the types of polarity that are commonly used to describe historical periods. Unipolarity being one superpower exists that creates order, like the Pax Britannica. Bipolarity, two superpowers keep each other in check, like the Cold War. Or multipolarity, where multiple nations have competing influence. And this is the really unstable one, which is what resulted in World Wars I and II. And the contention of this article is that Culture War 1.0, for those of us who are around for it, I don't remember, do you remember Culture War 1.0 at all?
They talked about the Bush era.
Yeah.
And I think 1.0 went on for longer. We're in the first few years of 2.0.
Okay.
So I think we all remember 1.0. This was...
Okay. I wasn't sure if you... Yeah.
I mean, I'm young, but not that young.
Okay, cool. You also look kind of young for your age, so yeah.
I keep
getting fooled. But yeah, no, Culture War 1.0, which was a lot of fun to be in, partially because we won it, was between the coalitions and secular liberals over what they called the soul of America.
Yeah, I mean...
It was like our is it okay to be gay? Basically, would be the big one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I only gave a kind of a gesture at we won it because like we won, but then we got Donald Trump. So like
Right.
it
Well, then it evolved into 2.0.
right,
But the initial culture
it's
war,
not,
like
if you win World War One, but then cause a worse World War, it's like
right.
who really won here, right?
Yeah.
So
But yeah, I mean, the first one, like they could no longer force kids to say the prayer in school. Like they could no longer push religion in school, basically.
those are so
Which
much
was a
easier
really big one.
fights.
I know, right? Well, they weren't at the time. Like it was a fight to like not have creationism taught in schools.
I remember being incensed about that back in the day, man.
Yeah.
Uh,
It was
I
a fight to be like I once heard from someone that was close to me say and this is not a thing that he actually believed in retrospect, but he was just saying it like because we were in culture war and he was fighting me. It's like, yeah, the one good thing Hitler did do was the concentration camps for the gays. Right? Yeah, no, right. That's
yeah, my face made a gesture, and I'm not a very emotive, facially expressive person.
Yeah.
That was intense.
yeah, it was and now like no one gives two fucks. Like even hardcore
No one
right-wing-
gives two fucks about people being gay.
about people being
not,
gay. Yeah.
not about the concentration
No,
camps.
no, no,
Okay,
no,
yeah.
no, God, no. But no, like even people like on the far right, for the most part, are now like, yeah, being gay is totes cool.
I mean, they're still there.
There are still some there.
You
But,
know, our
like-
vice president, for example, but like, and probably our current president, if he has,
No,
if
our
he can be
current
said, if
president
he
is
can be said to have any beliefs.
Right? Okay, right. Yes.
Yeah. So he'll say whatever will get him votes or
He'll
get
do
him likes
absolutely
on
anything.
Twitter. But yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like even the Pope, you know?
I that's true. Yeah. New Pope's pretty dope.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. All right. So
The only people who aren't cool with it are like really the Orthodox hardcore now. Like, you know, I mean, almost all Mormons are totally on board with people being gay. They're just like, oh, our fucking leadership is anti-gay, so all right, I guess we're towing that line.
yeah, the Mormons have a weird history with being on the right side of the fence, though. What they had a new revelation in like 1970s that black people were humans too, and
Right.
so you know they can catch on, but at the very least they're not causing a lot of damage. That I guess maybe their numbers are too small, but
I'm just saying, every single Mormon I know in person is totally liberal and on board with gay rights.
same.
They're
Yeah.
yeah.
Although I do want to go back and say that you said that I said that the problems back then were like nice and easy. And I was listening to Elon Musk's episode on the Joe Rogan Experience, which is a lot of fun. Everyone should listen to it. And then I was looking to see what other new ones were out, and Neil deGrasse Tyson was back on recently, and he was just talking, making some of the same talking points I heard like 15 years ago, and not much because they don't need to be said that much anymore because those fights are over. But I maintain those fights were easier. You weren't alienating your friends.
Yeah, no,
by
exactly.
saying that I think that we should teach science in science class. That
Yeah.
you could get in fights on the internet, but you weren't like there was never a sense of alienation that came about saying these things.
And more to the point, like you knew where your friends and your peers stood. I mean, like
Yeah.
as they say in the article, it was a bipolar affair. There was the right-wing Christians, there was the secular liberals. That was it. It was like the U.S. and Russia. You knew who was on your side and who you could count on. And they say nowadays we have multipolar distributions of power which do not obey the logic of bipolarity. Agents do not see allies behind the line and enemies in front of it. Instead, the lines surround them and are constantly shifting. Attacks can come from right or left, from state power or mob rule, from Twitter pylons or swatting. And this is for everyone else who's reading the Terra Ignota series right now by Ada Palmer. It's the same thing that you get there. It's the same thing you get in most civil wars nowadays. Like in Iraq, one of the major problems was like you're living in the city, your next door neighbor's a Sunni, you're a Shiite, you've been great all along, but now all of a sudden there's like huge issues. Like everyone is on some other line. You don't know who to trust. It's paranoia inducing, and I think that is the big problem.
Yeah, and
Well, one of the big problems.
and I think the paranoia inducing, and they talked about our enemies are no longer in front of you; they're everywhere. Comes from like, and they talk about this. They're more eloquent about this than I am. But the multipolarity of the current war landscape. Like a fun, annoying concession I used to make to people that was fair for me because this is something I could probably have. This is something I probably believed and probably still believe. But it was nice to get like a quick rise out of people. But it was still an easy issue. And the example was like, yeah, totally. We can teach intelligent design in school, just not in science class, right?
Right.
So like it was the response to some prompt that our philosophy professor had us like say, all right, raise your hand if you think you should teach evolution or teach intelligent design in school. Hands went up. raise hands if you say that you shouldn't. My hand went up, and along with most, other people. All right, now everyone switch sides and argue for that side, and you've got like 10 minutes.
Okay.
And my team settled on like, hey, sure, teach it in school, teach it in social science, not in biology.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like a sideways dig, but that was the kind of sideways middle of the road answer that you could give and not lose friends or gain enemies, right? You would irk people because you weren't really making a fight, but it was a sideways shot didn't hit anybody back then, right?
Yeah.
And now it does. Yeah. And now if you were to make some middle of the road comment, I can't think of one right off. I should have thought of one, but something that I probably believe that's not, or private gun ownership is okay. It is okay.
Yeah.
That's going to piss off some people, and that's something I probably believe that it is, right. If you're a responsible adult, you should be allowed to have a gun. I'll also say that you should be forced to register it, and that it should take licensing to acquire one. So there, I pissed off both sides. And
you didn't piss off me. I also think every gun should be registered. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately we're both too sensible.
Damn us and our sensibilities.
But if we're shooting to the sides, now we're hitting people. Yeah. And even that, I think, to me, sounds like a very equitable compromise. That's going to piss off both people, or that's going to piss off people on both sides, rather.
And I think that's like the problem, because the feeling of betrayal by your own side really sucks. I mean,
totally.
I think everyone I know has lost like close friends over this culture war stuff, or people that they thought they could trust. Have you?
I'm trying to think of any examples. On the plus side, it's easy to not lose friends when you don't have that large of a pool to start with. I'm kidding.
Like, I know Zeke Iran lost almost a large chunk of his support network over something.
Honestly, I probably would have if I was still on Facebook.
Yeah.
Like I said, I got off before, must have been in 2016 then, because it was before things totally went to shit. So, if I was still on Facebook, I probably would have lost all the friends that I know, or all the friends that I don't know, rather, who voted for Donald Trump or something.
Yeah.
And again, I've got friends who voted for Trump, but we won't make this all about him. But he's a big part. He's one of the big 5 factors that happens to make all this shit happen. So,
yeah. Well, for me, I remember the first time this happened. I always considered myself a feminist, like a hardcore feminist at that matter. I totally defended it. I still like all their ideals, right? But I was just like chatting on Facebook with some friends, and someone was like, oh my God, these people I know got someone to do their feng shui, and this guy's totally not an Asian dude. They got some white person to do feng shui. And I was like, yeah, because it's so much more real when an authentic Asian person is doing his racial magic, right? And there was like a massive blow up about how like having a white person do feng shui was cultural appropriation. And I was like, it's all bullshit anyway. What the fuck are you talking about? Who gives a fuck? And seriously, are you telling me there's racial magic that exists?
And if you are, that's super racist.
Yeah, right?
Because it's like,
unless there actually is racial magic, then it's just a fact of the world, right?
In which case,
different
we should all know
races have
about
different magics.
And we should have people of certain races are rearranging our furniture, right?
Right.
And
we should be careful not to mix the bloodlines, because then the magic gets diluted.
Yeah. So be careful what you're arguing for here,
Yeah.
because that's a very sensible implication of that argument.
But I mean, looking back on it now, I'm like, man, I can't believe how
you were naive enough to make that joke.
Well, no, I can't believe how much importance I associated to the event, because it was socially traumatizing. Like, this was a person that was respected. And more to the point, like, this was someone I trusted as like an ally in the fight against right-wing assholes, and all of a sudden they were like, fuck you, fuck everything about you, I hate you, and everyone who is my friend should hate you as well. And it was...
When did this happen?
3 or 4 years ago.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah, it really sucked. And I mean, I got over it, but it took a while. Like, it seriously ruined my week and fucked up my month.
Well, and you can't even agree on the rules for discourse that would have resolved that argument, right? Because, and I bring that up somewhat tongue-in-cheek to bring it back to the article, but also, like, that maybe it's because your position seems so sensible to me,
right?
But even putting it from where they are, I guess, it's inappropriate to make that joke or something, or, whatever, but like...
Well, to them, it wasn't even a joke. It was just cultural appropriation to have someone who's not white do your... or someone who's not Asian do your feng shui. And therefore, I was being a colonial oppressor.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll leave that one there and we'll move on.
Okay.
We won't finish if we dive too much into that. So.
That's true. Yeah, we've been going for a while anyway. Okay. They say there's 4 major events that ushered in Culture War 2.0, and they're laying down the history because they've sort of told us what memetic tribes are, what the characteristics, and
Oh wait, yeah, we actually left out the last sentence of the previous section, which was
sorry.
thus the conditions of 2018: strange alliances, rearguard action, unstable positions, and everywhere flux and insecurity.
Yeah.
That sets us up great for a nightmare of interacting with people.
Yes.
But yeah, then they go on to talk about the 4 major events that have led up to us being in our current culture war 2.0.
Yeah. The first one they say is the end of Occupy, which was my personal favorite one, because Occupy kind of fizzled out without getting anything done, really. And they say disheartened by capitalism's invincibility, people gravitated to identity politics and away from class politics. We cannot ignore the explosion of social justice activism post-Occupy and the relative lack of anti-capitalist activism until 2015. And they say this is because corporations can be woke, but they can't be anti-capitalist. This corporate embrace of the culture wars, because they can be woke, they can't be anti-capitalist though.
They can also definitely be pretend woke in order to get more people to buy your non-racist coffee as opposed to your racist coffee or something, right?
Or to go to your non-racist burger chain, chicken burger chain, as opposed to your racist one.
Yeah.
Or homophobic.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. I think I mentioned this. I've eaten at Chick-fil-A since they lost the war. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, this corporate embrace helped accelerate the spread of identity politics throughout society. So I personally hate corporations, so I love that particular aspect of this. It also served to neuter the anti-capitalist left by embedding issues of social justice into corporate policy through HR and PR departments. If corporations can be allies of social justice, then the radical leftist assertion that all oppression is intersecting has the ground torn out from under it. This helped fracture the left on questions of its goals, its methods, and its true enemies. So the fact that the corporations who are, oppressors in a way, they have a lot of money, they employ people, they exploit people according to some others.
But
they
not
can
the Bayesian
ruin the
Conspiracy
environment.
LLC.
Not the Bayesian Conspiracy LLC. But corporations in general are oppressors, and yet they can also be on the side of the oppressed through these HR and PR gambits. Really fractured the left in the post-Occupy thing and created, instead of having one homogenized left, all these little splinter groups that had their own things that they ran after.
Yeah, and I'm gonna mispronounce this name probably. The second one was Obergefell.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hard name to say. Sorry.
I think that's what it is. I don't know either.
Obergefell v. Hodges. That was the legalization of gay marriage.
Yep. The official end
in
of
2015.
Culture War 1.0.
And what to say there except that this was a blow to, I don't imagine it's a large portion of our listener base, but there are people out there who aren't total monsters that believe that gay marriage is a bad idea, that, gayness is a bad idea. That it's getting more and more fringe as we go along.
I can't believe that was just 2013.
Was that 2015?
2015.
When we legalized gay marriage, wasn't it?
Man, they're way behind.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing. But to them, this was like an important point, right? This was probably... It's what would be an equivalent for us if something like this happened? This might be a useful thought exercise. This might be like reintroducing prayer.
Criminalizing abortion.
That's a good one. Or like, compulsory prayer in school or something, right? Yeah, this is... Well, I think the abortion thing is... Obviously, I'm going to say it's not like that because it's worse, but it's not like that because it's worse. You're causing harm that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas nobody's hurt if gay people can get married other than your spiritual pureness, right? If that's something you're concerned about, and you think that would harm it. So I guess
or all of society if you think gay marriage degrades all of social fabric.
Right. So and I only belabor it because we only put just the what it was, the legalization of gay marriage. But I wanted to belabor it because it is a big thing if you're on the losing side of that. To us, it's just like about fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
Can't believe it took us this long. That's super embarrassing. But to people who lost, they're like, I can't believe this is it. We've been pushed back. This again. I'm not sympathizing. Well, I'm sympathizing because they're humans, but I'm not supporting where they're coming from. If you can't see a difference, fuck off.
Yeah.
So number 3 was Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah, I was surprised by that one.
Existing was what she did.
Right. Yeah.
So what Oh wait, there were only 4. I thought there were 5 major events. Yeah. So we want to dive into what the split factor was there, other than like the fact that I guess I can give a rough definition and you can tell me it's wrong and correct it,
Okay.
or say good job, Stephen. I guess the positive acceptance of trans people. She was on the cover of Vanity Fair, and this fractured the left, who we were all just coming down from the high of gay marriage being legalized, literally like a week earlier, maybe 2 weeks.
Really?
It was June that we legalized gay marriage, and early, I think July 1 or July 3 that Vanity Fair came out. That was in the article, but the dates aren't on our notes. So it was like, oh yeah, we did it. We're all so woke. We're great. Oh wait, Bruce Jenner's a girl now, and that's weird. Bruce is a guy. Caitlyn's really a guy under there. And
I
so
don't know if that's I don't know if that split the left though. I think maybe there was more splintering in like the center areas of the country. Like, were there really left people? I guess it did split like the TERFs off from the rest of feminism.
It split off TERFs, but I think
TERFs being trans exclusionary radical feminists for those unfamiliar.
Right, and I had to learn that term just a few episodes ago, or a few months ago. I don't know. I think when I said split the left, I meant that these are people who were pro gay marriage, and then they were confused by this. So I guess
I see.
Yeah,
I see
on the
what
left
you're
of the middle, but there's a center ground there. Nobody on the far left is probably bummed about this. I guess I don't know. Do you want to dig into that much as we did the last one? There's not a whole lot to say there other than this upset some people and has widely been regarded as a confusing move. I'm kidding. I'm quoting that Douglas Adams thing. I'll cut that out.
Cool.
No one will get the reference.
That's fine.
And number 4 is my favorite, was the chaos president.
Yeah.
And it opens with a quote from Donald Trump. He says, "I love chaos. It's really great."
Yeah.
Which is his 4th grade speaking level.
Right.
I'm not gonna hide my digs.
But he makes a great chaos general.
No, he doesn't.
Sows a lot of chaos.
The chaos general
have the genius behind it.
The chaos general isn't just about sowing chaos.
Right.
It's about winning.
Yeah.
And so behind all that chaos is a masterful plan that will more or less guarantee victory. Whereas
I'm not sure there was that often a master plan. Like sometimes there was, but for the most part, I think Harry was just like, I can deal with chaos better than my opponents, so more chaos is better for me.
Yeah, but since he tended to win.
Yeah, I guess since he was smart, he could deal with chaos better than his opponents.
Right.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Trump sent the establishment right and left spinning, self-questioning, and delegitimized.
And so now there's really not just two sides. They're just all everywhere.
Yeah, and to the extent that, I mean, this is one of those things, everyone on the left never took Donald Trump seriously, or we never took him seriously, but we took him literally because he would say things, and it's like, oh, people say what they believe, except when cases where people are mind reading, or whatever. I'll leave that I won't dive into that. And then people on the right, you had lots of never Trumpers, because like we're not gonna have this cartoon maniac be a whose only credential of being leading people is running reality TV shows and bursting into locker rooms of beauty pageants and doing all kinds of weird shit. No, fuck that. We're going to be never Trumpers. And then some of them stuck to it, and almost many of the famous ones didn't. Mitt Romney came out and spoke out against him and then was down licking boots. Paul Ryan, he said his dad was part of the JFK assassination, called his wife ugly. And there he is, licking his boots all the time. I don't know, it's a weird thing. And this, I'm being politically inflammatory, but I think this is a point where like I think these are questions of fact. Like, this isn't my partisan opinion that the right is worse than the left. This is my I'm going to argue like nonpartisan opinion that Donald Trump sucks as a person and as a president.
I think what it really did to the right is it split off the populist right, the majority, from the intellectual right. The intellectuals on the right are the only ones that I personally had an easier time identifying with, and they're almost all against Trump, but the ones that are in politics and need votes are basically unwilling to not toe the party line because he has the votes. The intellectuals are a small minority, and everyone else is voting.
Yeah, and then it's hard to look at polls in today's climate because things are weird. But when you see that he has like a 32% approval rating and only low 40% of the country is registered Republican, that tells you that like 1 in 4 Republicans were scared off by Donald Trump, right? So it's not like not just one's political power; it's the muggles on the street too. So, it's a thing. I guess I'm making an effort at being charitable at all of these. I would suspect that many people who are in favor of Donald Trump think that he is succeeding at what they wanted him to do, which was kicking up the system. And if that was your goal and that's what you think he's doing, then you win. what that means for the rest of us and for the country is a different thing. But
Yeah.
but I mean, I'm not trying to be an asshole. I went ahead and slipped into assholedom towards the end. Yeah. So that's what I got there. We can move on.
They give us a quick anatomy of a mimetic tribe, which I thought was really interesting because this is the part where you like get the cool horoscope or Mixed Briar personality test where you can like look up yourself and see like, oh hey, that was neat.
Myers Briggs.
Oh, did I say I said it backwards?
It doesn't matter.
Okay,
but it's like a horoscope, so you might as well just call it horoscope.
Yeah, they say anatomy of a mimetic tribe. Each tribe, they're saying what consists a mimetic tribe consists of. They say each tribe has a telos, an objective to obtain or a state to attain.
You said an objective to obtain or a state to attain.
Yes.
Those words sound similar. And then I put in quotes, do they though?
I think they do.
Does every mimetic tribe have a telos? Like, for example, the Occupy one didn't really have well, it had a state to attain, it's not an objective, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they gave a really cool breakdown that I couldn't pull up my phone because it was a Google Doc of how many were there, like 35 or something that it covered.
I don't think there were that many.
It covered at least
like
a couple
dozen, I think.
couple dozen groups, yeah. So that's linked to in the article too of
well, here, let me go through them.
Oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, each tribe has a telos, an objective. They have sacred values, which are non-negotiable and they're non-negotiable within the mimetic framework.
There you go.
They can't be violated within it either. If these values are transgressed, it will trigger the tribal member. They will also influence the prime virtues that the tribal member will signal. They have master statuses, being the dominant identifying characteristic of the tribe. Each is persecuted or haunted by an existential threat, which necessitates tribal affiliation for survival. They have campfires, like meeting areas, places where the ideas are exchanged, online or in meet space, where they communicate and cooperate. Each tribe has chieftains, who either direct the tribe or provide the theoretical foundations for the tribe, or are apologists for the tribe. They each have mental models by which they conceptualize and navigate reality, and each tribe has forebearers, whether they be progenitors of the tribe or personal inspirations of the chieftains. And the rationalist diaspora is on his list, which I thought was really cool. And so I'm going to use their entry for the rationalist diaspora.
They didn't cover though why they call it the rationalist diaspora rather than just the rationalist movement.
Because that's kind of what the rationalist movement had been calling itself after the original Less Wrong broke apart.
I thought that's what happened to it, not what it is.
I mean, you can use it as a noun too. I'd seen it used as a noun a lot because there used to be just Less Wrong where everyone was, and then that stopped and everyone fragmented and, had a diaspora throughout the web.
Maybe I only know the dictionary definition of diaspora and it's not sufficient, but that sounds like a negative thing. Like we're wandering now and we're lost.
Yeah, I see.
That's not really the case.
I mean, we have been much more united since Scott Alexander kind of took over the reins and then Less Wrong came back again. We are more centralized again now than we used to be. But for a number of years there was just like a bunch of individual blogs and Tumblrs and things, and it wasn't.
But they were united about the same thing. They weren't like going off. Well, I guess some of them did go off in different directions. And
yeah, I mean, we got what was it? We got a lot of splinter offshoots. That
more right.
Yeah, more right. Exactly. That went their own way, and not like entirely went their own way, but somewhat. It was definitely a bit of a diaspora, I would say.
Yeah. All right. That's fair.
Okay. Anyways, they say rationalist diaspora. As the example that we are going to give in this podcast, the goal of the tribe is overcoming biases. Their sacred value is rationality. Their threat is unfriendly AI. Their campfires are Less Wrong, Slate Star Codex, and meetups. Their chieftains are Eliezer Yudkowsky, Scott Alexander, and Robin Hansen.
Steven Zuber and Eneasz Brodsky. Wow, we made the list.
Dude, that's awesome. Their mental models are Bayes' theorem, effective altruism, and cognitive biases. And their forebearers are Thomas Bayes and I.J. Good.
Are our forebears Thomas Bayes and I.J. Good?
I hadn't heard of I.J. Good. I had to look him up.
He's the guy who defined the term singularity or intelligence explosion.
Okay.
No, wait, that was Werner Vinge.
Werner Vinge is the one that created the term singularity for it.
Okay, I.J. Good might have been intelligence explosion then.
Okay.
In any case, I
definitely put Bayes on there. That's what we named our conspiracy after.
Well, that's what Harry named his conspiracy after, and we ripped off his.
That's true.
But yeah, I'm nitpicking it. Maybe I don't know what forebears means. Does that necessitate a dead person that's no longer involved, or like?
I don't think so.
Because I would say our forebears would have been more like Eliezer Yudkowsky and Robin Hansen.
I think,
and they're also our chieftains, but they because the movement didn't start with Bays or I.J. Good.
I don't know. If you think about Christians, like, I think the forebearer would be Jesus, because, like, he didn't, well, assuming briefly that there's a personal Jesus as opposed to the myth, but, like, the Jesus myth is the forebearer, because if there was a Jesus person, he didn't know shit about Christianity or about organizing a church or anything. And then the actual chieftain would have been John Paul, or was it John Paul? He was just Paul, not John Paul. Paul.
Yeah, you're the Bible expert.
Oh,
it's
sorry.
getting late though.
Paul was the guy who founded the first church and really started spreading Christianity in the Mediterranean. And he was a guy that actually existed, so he had that going for him.
Yeah.
But whereas, like, Jesus was just like a guy with some cool ideas that got his ass killed.
I was looking at the list of mimetic tribes here that they have in that Google Doc, and there are 34 that they put down here, and street epistemologist is one of them, which is fun.
34,
and their forebearers are Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris, which is interesting.
That is interesting.
But like when we had Stephen on, Peter Bogessian and Anthony Magnobosco, I can't say his name, are the chieftains.
Okay.
So okay, that's fair. They don't have to be dead and long gone, but I guess maybe Sam Harris and Richard Dawkins popularized, maybe street epistemology evolved out of talking across religious aisles, or from the non-religious to religious, and they did that in a way, sometimes nice, sometimes not so nice.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I like it. Yeah, I like. I'm gonna read one more too from the post, but before that, I want to read what they put before they start listing out a few of them, which was quote. In the spirit of charity, we've attempted to describe these tribes using terms that they would use to describe themselves. For example, the term social justice, doesn't matter. I just like how they say that forthcoming. And so, they're saying, I can't find the quote. They had a thing about, like, listing these doesn't mean that we think that, I want to just find it, sorry. While presenting the following, we're adopting a view from nowhere position in order to demonstrate similar mimetic anatomy. However, we do not believe that there is an equivalence between these tribal claims to truth, morality, practicality, or even interestingness. That is for you, reader, to evaluate. But I did love the attempt at view from nowhere and charity to say, look, here's how we think they describe themselves. Mm-hmm. So let's grab one that we all hate. Let's do
neo-Nazis.
Yeah, that one seemed almost too easy. I'm scrolling down a little bit more. Post-rationalist sounds like annoying to get into. Oh, of course. Sorters in the intellectual dark web. Jordan Peterson is the common, and this isn't someone we all hate, but I just wanted to bring this up because intellectual dark web was something we were discussing earlier. So this is another one of the mimetic tribes. So Jordan Peterson is the common denominator with these two tribes, the sorters and the intellectual dark web, which the article sorts into one. One of the most important figures in the Culture War 2.0, his central message in the war is an emphasis of free speech and the importance of self-truthing. His followers, which we dub the sorters, mostly comprised of young men, are attracted to Peterson's style and his message of personal responsibility. The intellectual dark web, coined by Eric Weinstein, consists of a group of thinkers who have experienced what they view as thought policing by politically correct elements of the left. With the ever-increasing popularity of Peterson's brand and platforms such as Quillette and The Rubin Report and The Joe Rogan Experience, watch for both of these tribes to gain further members and make strong push for return to a classically liberal center in the culture. I would not have thought that Rogan was part of the intellectual dark web.
I would definitely put him at least adjacent to it.
I don't know if he had consent to be putting on any intellectual web.
Well,
but
that's I guess not really his choice
that's
now,
right.
is it?
Well, he does have to post one of the dark pictures. Yeah.
Oh, right. If you don't have the dark picture, you're not in the dark web yet?
Yeah, okay. It's on your badge.
Yeah.
And I'm referencing these pictures from an article that I'll dig up and put on the episode notes. But it's funny, and it gives an overview of the history of the intellectual dark web, but it has pictures of, like, the top 6 people, and they're all just, like, standing next to trees or, like, under street lights and, crossing their arms and looking gruff, and it's, like, dark out, and it's, like, get a less... that, to me, is what made me think this whole thing was a joke. It's like, that couldn't be more, like, on the nose, but they're leaning into the joke.
Yeah, and I love that visual aesthetic, too, so I was like, this is pretty.
I like it, too. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but it in the sense of, like, if they were trying to be serious, it's like you guys are being the opposite of serious right now, but they're not, so it's funny, and it looks good too. Whatever. Anyway, so yeah, back to your notes. When I interrupted about Thomas Bayes and I.J. Good. Okay, yeah, sorry. So rationalist diaspora.
Oh, and yeah, then afterwards they have, like, a little paragraph on each of the mimetic tribes and where they see them going as well. Which I don't know. Did you want to bother with that?
Yeah, I'm going to read the one on rationality, because if we give the intellectual dark web one, I'll give us ours.
Okay.
Incubated on overcoming bias and less wrong, this is an observer tribe in the culture war. Though similar to the new atheists in that they prize rationality, they do not define themselves in opposition to religion. Thanks to the strength of Eliezer Yudkowsky and Scott Alexander's writings, and Stephen Inyash's podcast, the beliefs and epistemic virtues of the diaspora, they command an increasing respect in the culture war. Watch for a popularity boost to effective altruism, a struggle with the downsides of increased attention, and possible pressures by the SJAs, which they call social justice activists. I didn't know they'd changed the name until I read this. For the rationalists to commit progressive value. Pressure from the SJAs for the rationalists to commit to progressive values. Because right now we're kind of watching, like I did at lunch the other day. I'll watch and point out the occasional stupid thing, but not really take a side because I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
So it's true that, like I pointed out, if you set up fights on Facebook, someone's going to call you out and say that you're, hey, you're either with us or you're against us.
Right.
And the authors anticipate that might happen to observer groups like the rationalists. So, yeah.
I've seen it happen.
Oh, you put the quote in here. Oh no, I put the quote in here. Good job, me.
Yeah.
So I put that quote that I couldn't find in here earlier, and then in parentheses, I fucking love their writing style. All right. So lest this end on the bleakest note of this is how the world ends with Culture War 2.0, there are proposed steps forward. This isn't a solution to save the world, but it is little things that we can try to do to fight in the war, I guess.
Yeah, they had 1, 2, 3, 4. They had 5. They had 7 altogether, but I only really liked 4 of them, so I put those at the top. But we'll mention all 7. I am an arbiter of what is the best solutions of theirs.
I mean, they kept name dropping us in the article. It's only fair.
Right? Yeah. We got to return the favor. So the first proposed step forward is Hippocratic Oath of the Culture War. At bare minimum, a commitment to good faith dialogue, the principle of charity, and intellectual humility. Acknowledging I could be wrong. And I think that would be really neat.
That's a lot easier said than done, though, because we've ingrained those into our brain, that lesson into our brain by now.
Yeah.
And it's okay for me to say to you, I think I could be wrong. But if I'm going to go talk to somebody about something really important, like, being inclusive and not a dick to Caitlyn Jenner, if I was to go talk to one of my SJA friends, and do we have to call them that? I find that a lot less annoying. Or, excuse me, a lot more. I hate name changing. When you change names, you make me confused.
Right.
It seems like a deliberate attempt to be confusing.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, if I talk to one of my social justice activist-y, warrior-y friends and say, I could be wrong about this, they'll say, fuck you, this is important. They already talked about earlier in the article. These values are inviolable, and they're non-negotiable.
Yeah.
So to say I might be mistaken about this is tantamount to shooting your troops in the back.
I've experienced the same thing where, it's really hard to... It looks good to us.
But only to us.
Well, because we're the only reasonable ones, right?
Yeah. I mean, that said, if you can put out some epistemic and intellectual humility.
The thing is, if you do try to do this commitment to good faith dialogue and principles of charity and intellectual humility, you get called out for having privilege. Like, only someone who is white and rich and male has the ability to be calm about it when black people are dying, and then it's really frustrating that you're supposed to be really upset about these things and not take any prisoners, and if you show any sort of willingness to listen to the other side, it means that you've abandoned the people,
I don't know how you return the charge of privilege and say, therefore shut the fuck up, or therefore we don't have to listen to you. Because you're right, that's going to happen. I guess I'm going to toss this out to the listeners. I have no idea what to do about that. You can't just write those people off, because those people might be eminently sensible on most other things, and we don't exactly have the numbers to be throwing away potential allies. So if we agree on enough, that's the other thing, man. We can't agree on 90% and then say, fuck you, because we don't agree on 100, right? We need to say, we'll work on the rest,
It's just really frustrating.
But if they're not willing to play it by that rule too, then how do you do it?
I mean, I am a big fan of Lacey Green. And I have gotten a lot of shit from people who are like, how could you possibly like that horrible, transphobic, misogynistic person? I'm like...
I don't know who you're talking about.
Oh my God. She was one of the earliest YouTubers, sex-positive, feminist YouTubers out there that became really big and popular for for being a sex-positive feminist, just helping teach people about feminism and sexuality.
Lacey Green?
Yeah.
Okay, the name rings a bell.
Yeah. She was awesome. And then it somehow actually got to the point, there's actually a great This American Life episode about it, but to not, belabor the point for 30 minutes explaining how it all happened, basically nowadays this sweet feminist, sex-positive person is the horrible, Nazi-loving, alt-right, what's the opposite of feminist?
Anti-feminist.
Sure.
Big fan of it. Just throwing anti in front of anything.
Yeah, just all the bad things that those people, like, they're on the same side basically. And I got a lot of crap from a couple of people in particular for saying that no, Lacey Green's actually pretty cool. Stop trying to be, shitty to her, because she's done a lot for the movement and she's still a good person.
Can you find the... Oh, wait, that's the... Oh, that's weird. This American Life only has 4 episodes on iTunes.
They only ever, have the 4 latest episodes.
Well, it shows 489, 657, 666, and 402.
The last 4 episodes that they aired on air, when they often air repeats.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So where do you find this? Their website or something?
No, it wouldn't be on the website because, like I said, they only have the last 4 episodes.
What, do you buy them? That sucks. I want to listen to this.
Yeah. I mean, I still have a copy, I believe. I can send it to you.
I'd be interested in doing that.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't put it out there in public because they'd be upset about that.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know. I'll see if I can find it anywhere.
I guess. Yeah, but I also don't want to have to have my laptop open to listen to this. I'd like to listen to it in the cars. I mean, I will if I have to, but anyway, that's super annoying.
It is.
So if I subscribe to This American Life, I'll get an episode per week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well then that doesn't sound like too bad to subscribe to. It's about time everyone talks about this show.
I only listen to about it like once out of every 6 or 7 episodes, to be honest.
I'll read the descriptions.
All right, just every now and then I get lucky.
Well, what I was mainly worried about is I knew that this has been going on forever and I want to go through 500 hours of backlog.
Right.
But if I know that at max I have 4, then that sounds a lot less scary. So
yeah.
I can't believe they just remove content from the world. Like, nobody does that. That's the whole point, is data storage is ridiculously cheap.
I believe it's part of their Pay Us initiative.
Okay, so they are available if I give them a couple bucks.
Pretty sure.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, sorry. I got distracted.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm just saying I like the Hippocratic Oath idea.
I do too.
And we've recently had something like that come up in the subreddit. If you guys want to go to the subreddit, you can see some talk about that on the Matt Freeman episode. We're not going to cover that here, but maybe someday in the future we will discuss that more with someone who's trying to launch something like that.
Oh, it was the second. It was Don't Give Up Freeman. Our
follow-up to Freeman.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Our follow-up to Matt Freeman episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, give it a shot. All right, second one.
Clean bias.
That's right.
Which is being honest about our biases and tribal affiliations. We could abandon the pretense to neutrality and more honestly engage with each other, knowing where we stand. Which I also really like, because everyone has biases they come to. And I would be, when someone tells me like, no, I'm neutral about things, I don't see color, I'm like, fuck you. Stop trying to pretend that or especially the old-timey newscasters are like, we just give the news, we don't judge or anything. I'm like, no, just give us your actual biases. Everyone knows that you are left-leaning and you guys all vote Democrat. There's no secret to it. Just say it up front, and so that we can be like, these are the biases I'm coming from, and now let's have a normal conversation.
Yeah, and I want to reread this section of the article, because that, again, sounds way too simplistic to be doable. Because, you don't know all your biases.
Right,
and me pointing them out to you isn't very helpful, especially if you're not a rationalist.
Yeah, because I have a friend who is a just right-wing-ish conservative, and he's a lawyer. He's argued before the Supreme Court, which is really cool. And he despises Trump with every fiber of his being. But the thing is, I always knew that he was kind of to the right, He's socially liberal, but politically he usually votes to the right. I'm like, okay, I know that about you. We can talk to each other like fucking adults.
Some of my most fruitful conversations, I've mentioned this before, were from my roommate through college, or through parts of college. He's never a Trumper, but he's a conservative.
Mm-hmm.
And, we were able to have, because we weren't hiding where we're coming from. Mm-hmm. And part of it for me, and this is what the other thing too, is sometimes I am coming from nowhere. I now have a political affiliation, and I leaned left before, but I'm voting blue no matter what, on everything for the next few elections. But
until Trump gets fucking out,
until the damage is done, or until the damage is fixed.
Yeah.
But Well, I'll get into that later. Someone's going to accuse me of being biased, and they're probably right, and they are. Well, at this point,
Everyone's biased.
but now I'm owning it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's one of those like this is the kind of thing where someone said, "Hey, you're privileged," whatever, and so it's like, what do you do with that information? You're like, okay, I'll shut up now,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, that doesn't seem like the solution either, right?
Right.
It could be that you have something valuable to say despite being white guy or whatever your privilege is.
Yeah.
Having the social ease of being able to get online and say stuff without feeling attacked or something, or without worrying about being attacked or whatever it is, right?
Right.
So like, I don't know. Again, I'm in favor of this. This sounds great, but that sounds too easy, or that sounds too.
Well, I don't think any of these are like solutions. I think they're just steps forward that could help.
Yeah. So if you're declaring where you're coming from, and that's good, but then of course too, you've got to be dealing with intellectually honest players.
Yeah.
Fox News. What's their motto?
Fair and balanced. Yeah.
It's scary. It's weird, but I'm in favor of it. Yeah. Be straight up. Yeah, that's the thing. If I were to come to especially a politically charged argument and say, look, here's where I'm coming from, who's who I voted for, we can get that out of the way. You don't have to like say, well, you're just saying that because of this, mer.
And the thing is, it's not like people don't know that Fox News leans hard right. People know MSNBC leans far left.
Yeah, I think people is different groups is not everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows that Fox News is on the right, but how far right they are. Like when Trump got in front of the UN and said, no, my administration is going to accomplish more than almost any other, and he got laugh out loud a reaction from the assembly at the UN.
Yeah.
Fox News edited that out when they aired that.
Oh.
And so to someone who only watches Fox News to see the real clip on Facebook or something, they'd say, they're editing that in to make Trump look bad, which speaks to that fracturization that Scott Adams is going on about. But it's I don't know. It's not enough to just declare your bias or even be aware that like your source might be a little biased. I don't know how you check to see how biased your source is. I know I'm digging way too philosophical for 10 p.m. So let's move past it.
Okay.
I'll do a short one. Reinventing debate is bullet point 3.
Yeah.
Separate into sports debates and sense-making debates.
And I like this idea because I really like sports debates. I truly enjoy them, but I also realize that they're not actual ways to get to the truth.
So it's a sports debate.
Sports debate is basically what we see nowadays. It's, people just trying to make their opponent look bad and score points and get the audience to be like, oh, snap, It's like a rap battle for intellectuals.
So what's a sense-making debate then to contrast that with?
A sense-making debate would be something like an ideological Turing test or the antagonistic collaboration that Scott Alexander just recently hosted 4 of them, gave away prize money for them, and they were all pretty good. Antagonistic collaboration is when 2 people who have opposing viewpoints on an issue come together to research it, and they put out their conclusions, and they will only put out things that both of them agree on.
Oh, I read the one on mandatory vaccination of kids.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know there were 3 more. That sounds really fruitful.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can dig it. But I guess reinventing debate is to acknowledge what kind of debate you're having. That's fair.
Yeah.
And say, look, I'm just saying, so I made an effort at having both. Like, I'd kind of say, here's where I'm putting on my charity at. Mm-hmm. And that's me switching to my sense-making debate. But a lot of my points about, especially politics, were sports debates. Yeah. So that's fair. All right, what's the next one?
Next one is mimetic mediators. Mimetic mediators could be called in for mimetic battles where both participants prefer peace to continued civil decay, but cannot come to an accord without facilitation. These mediators would require a multitude of tools at their disposal. They would need to be fluent in multiple tribal paradigms, and would need to give the impression of fairness. And because each tribe has their own method and claims to truth, mimetic mediators would have to be skilled at finding any common ground and building from it. And I think this is probably like the coolest idea, but also the absolute hardest to put into practice, because it's going to be really hard to find someone that 2 groups can both agree on.
I actually love doing these, though. This is what I did. This is like, again, I keep bringing up Friday's lunch, but I like doing this is maybe, hey, this is a good call for rationalists, because we're we're one of the observer tribes, right?
Yeah.
This is what we could do to save the world.
I don't think I would be very good at it. I tend to become emotionally invested. I try. I can do it for some things, but in general, there's other topics where I absolutely could not do it. But
that's what I was going to say, is do it on the topics where you'd be good at it, because you can acknowledge it yourself. And I bet that if you're mediating an argument between me and somebody else, and I'd said, you're not being dispassionate and unbiased here, I think you'd be able to say, You're right. I'm gonna sit this one out, or I'll try and be better or something, right?
In our friend group, I love Shelly for this, and she's been on the podcast I think once or twice.
At least once, hopefully.
At least once. But she is, oh my God, anytime anything flares up on Facebook and she is involved in it, she's just like, hey guys, here's this person's point of view, here's this person's point of view, look how reasonable you both are, and it can be about this. And oh my God, she is amazing. I'm like, I wish I could just have you everywhere. That's true. You've done this a few times too, like when during the sensitive issues.
You and Vivian.
Yeah. We worked that way for us. I will say that, like, since most people are not in our community, this isn't very useful, but I was surprised. The article said that they can't think of any examples of someone like this. And I was like, oh, come on. Have you guys never read the Unit of Caring's Tumblr? The Unit of Caring is amazing. Like, on more than one occasion on this blog, I've called her the best person in the world, or at least the best person on the internet. Absolutely think she's the best person on the internet. Just so reasonable and kind-hearted, and just she could be a mediator for anyone, in my opinion. At least anyone from the rationalist side would gladly accept her as mediator with anyone else.
That's dope.
As far as I can tell, man.
I haven't actually read that because I'm never on Tumblr, but I've got it open now. I'll check it out.
Yeah, one of my favorite Tumblr period, hands down.
Fantastic. Yeah. I don't know. Have you seen the one that's like just repost the We Rate Dogs Twitter? Because that one's pretty cool.
Okay.
So anyway, you said like Shelly, sucks that I'm missing out on these interactions on Facebook. Maybe there are some things I'm losing.
Well, I mean, they're really rare.
But it would be nice to see, Kendall in the dark there once in a while. Yeah. Well, way to go, Shelly. That's awesome. I wish if you see any screen caps or something that you can share, if you have to censor names or whatever. Not necessarily to the page, but share them with me because I want to see them.
Yeah.
All right. So there were three more, and I didn't actually finish this part. I was running short on time this evening, but I've got the notes, so you let me know what I missed. Reclaiming philosophy as a way of life is number 5.
Yes.
And that sounds nicely poetic and lofty, but good luck with that. There's no philosophers on the battlefield.
Dude, I don't know. Like, Stoicism has been having quite a comeback lately.
That's because we need Stoicism, man.
Well, for whatever reason, it's kind of being a thing.
I can dig it. Okay. That's a good example. I'm picturing just somebody advocating Stoicism, in the like walking across no man's land in World War II.
Oh, right.
It's like, good luck out there.
Yeah.
Gray pilling. All right. So I didn't read this, so I'll take your guess.
I didn't really get what gray pilling is. It seemed like basically to be street epistemology, like Socratic questioning of people, just asking them why do you think that, and trying to get them to question their own stuff without being a dick or anything.
The gray pill is the process of relearning the values of questioning and doubt after you've been seduced by your answers and certainties, and leaving comforting secret societies for continued intellectual growth.
Yeah, all that. I don't know what that meant.
Basically finding rationality.
Okay. Okay.
Come join our secret society for continued intellectual growth.
Yeah.
Everyone who listens gets the in-jokes. So, let's see. Workshops for depolarization.
Exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah, that sounds
workshops.
That sounds great, but getting people to come, yeah.
Yeah, they give the example of the Open Mind platform is a psychology-based educational platform designed to depolarize campuses, companies, organizations, and communities. And I guess for if it was a mandatory thing as part of your job or something, it could work.
Yeah.
I don't actually know anything about it.
I don't either.
Workshops would be nice, but again, getting to people to do them is hard, and I get the feeling forcing people to do them would be have the same sort of effect as sensitivity training.
It'd be useless.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get people to do to say whatever they have to say, check all the right bubbles in the Scantron, and then just leave.
Yeah.
So
that's why I was not entirely enthusiastic about that one. I'm like, I don't know if it could happen.
But these are helpful things, and maybe as we work our way there, this sounds like the kind of nerdy thing a rationalist would be into. I know I keep putting us at the top of the list, but whatever. Since we're not in the intellectual dark web train yet, or the what are some of the crazy other ones on this list? Forget it. Yeah. Fingers crossed. This might be the cool thing to do, maybe if you're in college or something, because there's already a bunch of, meeting places and communities like that.
Yeah.
It's tough because if you're the only one attending these, I can imagine going to see a speaker you disagree with or something.
Yeah.
But if you're the only one going, then you're just suffering from it, and it's not making society any better, right? And you could try and learn and become less polarized that way, but I don't know. Well, that sounds like a stretch goal. I can see why you put those last 3 in a separate category. Did we want to cover our 3 less wrong posts tonight, or have we been at it for 2.5 hours
late.
already?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We'll start our less wrong posts next week.
Okay.
Next episode.
I was really excited about them too.
What if we do in advance? Tell people which ones we're going to talk. No. Well.
Oh yeah. No. Actually, it's a good idea in case they want to read too.
Yeah. If you want to read ahead.
All right. So instead of doing rationality AI to zombies, we are actually going to be reading the original sequences in the order they were posted.
And you decided that.
Yes,
I'm
I did.
Curious why.
Because that was the way I read them.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Enough said.
Yeah.
Why go for the organized and refurbished version when you can get the old model that runs on diesel?
This is like being just slightly post Council of Nicaea and being like, yeah, I see you got a nice cannon over there, but fuck you, I like all my original 117 apocryphal books of the Bible. Thank you.
That said, there wasn't much cut to put in Rationality as zombies. It was just sorted better.
It was sorted better. There was some cutting too.
Okay, fair enough. So the first 3 essays we read, which you can find on lesswrong.com under the sequences.
It's kind of difficult because the sequences takes you to rationality AI to zombies. There is a resource that posts all of the less wrong posts in the order that they were originally posted, and actually includes the ones put out by other people too, not just Eliezer, but we're only going to be reading Eliezer's ones. Anyways, I'll put a link up to that, but we will also link the first 3 less wrong posts ever posted, which we will talk about in our next episode. They are The Martial Art of Rationality, Why Truth, and What's a Bias Again?
The and separated posts 2 and 3. So, yeah.
And we'll have links to those on our website, TheBayesianConspiracy.com. And so you can go to them straight from there, or just find a way to read them on your own.
Yeah.
But they were good posts. We're going to be reading through this thing.
Totally. And if you just Google the first one, the martial art of rationality, and click next post, it takes you to the next ones in the right order. So
cool.
I think I'm about done unless you wanted to pitch what video game you were playing lately.
Oh yeah, right. I did want to do that. So since you pitched one last time, I was like, oh yeah, I got to talk about this video game. There's a really fucking cool video game called Soma. It's a first-person game, and the tutorial part starts out like more or less modern day, maybe 5 years in the future. Your guy has a brain injury, and he's going in for some treatment. And then, you wake up after the treatment, and you're like in a bunker under the ocean. The thing is overrun with not zombies, but like machine, mindless, destroying things. And it turns into a survival horror game from there. And it's one of the survival horrors where you don't get weapons. You get to run away from the big thing before it kills you, and then solve puzzles and try to not die. So it's, first of all, I thought it was really fucking well done as a horror game. There were a number of times where I was like actually scared. I had physical reactions, which just does not happen anymore. I get the feeling I'm jaded enough that was really well done, that I actually had those reactions, and I would have to stop playing the game for a bit.
Oh, you got to play like Outlast or something with the lights off and the volume up.
Okay.
I played like half an hour of that game. I can watch playthroughs, that's fine.
Yeah.
But like, I don't play a lot of horror games.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because I get pretty into it,
Okay.
and I get into all the games and stuff. So if there's a jump scare or like even a loud thing, when I was playing Horizon Zero Dawn, something snuck up on me, I'd jump in my seat.
Okay.
If I'm playing a horror game, and a good horror game does what this game does, like you said, there's no weapons, or if there are weapons, ammo's limited.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to find. They're brittle. Weapons they don't get OP until the end of the game, if they get OP ever. There's never a sense that like, all right, I finally got all the shit I need to be safe.
Right.
You're like,
You're always
stressed out.
Well, this game was interesting because there is safe periods and safe spots and dangerous spots that you alternate between. So yeah, you get a break between every moment of mind-bending terror. Then after that, there's like a level where you get more of the storyline and you talk to people, and that's where like what I really loved about this game. It is super transhumanist almost. I mean, it's a horror transhumanism, but it is at the point where like it tackles issues of identity and who you are once you're uploaded, and what does it mean to have these memories, and what does it mean to be interacting with non-human intelligences that don't have the values you think they have at first. I don't want to spoil too much about this because saying much of anything is very spoilery, but yeah, it's very transhumanist, where you get to make deal with the ethical issues that we sometimes have to deal with, or that we never have to deal with in real life, but as transhumanist thought experiments that we sometimes run across.
Did you read Dan Dennett's Where Am I?
Yes.
There's a component to that game that's a lot like that stuck with me. I watched this playthrough years ago.
Oh, of Soma?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And because I never played it, but if anyone wants, I'll link to a playthrough of this YouTuber who does playthroughs that I really like.
Mm-hmm.
Back when I was watching, he had like 300 subscribers or less. I think I mentioned this to you and Yash when you told me about this game. Yeah. For whatever reason, Xbox threw out like random pointless achievement. Like you don't get any points for the achievement when you're just doing things that aren't games. And one of them was it was like indie guy or something, indie viewer, watch 3 hours of YouTube videos that have less than 300 views or something. And
nice.
And so Marshall Dyer does these playthroughs, and he's just got this nice gentle voice, and he talks about what he's doing. If he's doing something that he talks through his thought process. He doesn't have a YouTube voice. He doesn't say, be sure to smash that like and subscribe button like we're about to at the end of this episode. And no floating head. And then he'll quietly do the parts that are supposed to be quiet, and he'll talk the parts where he's inventory managing or something or whatever.
Cool.
Anyway, give it a shot if you want to watch it. If you want to play it, something great to play too.
Yeah.
But if you're like me and don't play horror games but just watch them, this sounds fun.
Cool.
So yeah, I think that's all we got for today.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, we got to thank a patron.
Let me ask you real quick, and we'll put this next part only into the Patreon supported part because it's also spoilers for the game.
Do you want to say this after we close the episode? It doesn't matter. I'll chop it out. I can handle it.
Oh,
that's fine.
Do you want me to?
Nope. Keep going.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
But yeah, this next part only for Patreon subscribers. So subscribe to Patreon.
Oh yeah, we can. Let's plug that really quick.
Oh, okay.
Before I forget. So we have a Patreon account.
Yes, we do.
Patreon, just search the Bayesian Conspiracy. You're welcome to support us. It's not required. If it's anything like a financial hardship or you'll even notice the loss, don't. Yeah. But if you have a free $1 a month or whatever, by all means, you're welcome to.
And it really means a lot to us.
It does, and it I was thinking about this just yesterday that you put up all the forward costs for the show, which included the time to build the website, the hosting for like the first year. Right. You bought the mics, you bought the mic, you bought all the equipment, the mixer. So you just recouped your costs for that like last year.
Right.
Last year. Down the road we could get better mics. We could do whatever you guys think we could do with this. It's not like a big money in our pocket kind of thing. It's just something to make this.
It feels nice to be able to go out to dinner a few times a year on like, hey, this is Bayesian conspiracy money.
Yeah, or one of these days maybe we'll want a guest who wants money or something like that, right? So, maybe they have a time budget. I don't know, but whatever it is. So we're trying to make it useful, not just give you more than just feel goods for being a patron supporter. So we do have some patron only content out there. Usually just us chatting about random stuff.
Yeah, it's not much, but we're gonna start getting more.
Yeah, and down the road I want to add some more like interesting conversations. I don't think we'll get to the point where we ever do full episodes that are just patron only. But maybe we'll start doing things where patrons get to vote on the next episode or something.
Cool.
Or at least put out ideas. We take them from Reddit and stuff now too, but maybe we'll highly prioritize the ones from Patreon. So those are things that exist. If you don't feel like doing Patreon, or if you already do, that's awesome. We appreciate it. And there is iTunes. You can like an episode. You can like the show there. Leave a review.
Tell other people about the episodes. That also helps.
Yeah, just if you think this is valuable to you, and you think that there's anybody that you think it might be valuable to, us or other resources. Rationally Speaking is another good podcast. It's not the same exact thing. It's not rationality with a capital R, but it's rationality adjacent.
Yeah.
The reason that I think I wanted to do this show was that there isn't really anything like a rationality podcast that I could find. At least there wasn't 2 or 3 years ago. So, in any case, now I'm rambling. But thank you. We really like our listeners, and I can tell that I'm rambling. So.
And this episode, we in particular like. Dun dun dun.
Thank you to our call out Patreon supporter this month or this episode, Crystal. Thanks a lot.
Fuck yeah, Crystal.
You know what we might actually do one of these days? Our sound engineer got busy with a paying job, and we've been editing the last few ones, which is time intensive and and doesn't sound as good.
Oh,
so
maybe we could actually pay a real person to do this for us.
One of these days we might pay a real person to do this.
Oh my god, that'd be so nice.
I'll look into what the costs are. I want we don't need an amazing sound engineer to add effects and do this and that, but something to clean this up and save us 4 hours a week.
Yeah.
4 or 5 or 6, it seems like.
Yeah.
So
that would be really cool.
Yeah. Anyway, so the reason I brought up all the Patreon stuff was because we are going to go into some Patreon-only content, which maybe we'll start announcing when we do that.
All right. So all of that last part up until the modafinil, I think, should go into the Patreon supporter thing.
Sounds good.
Cool. All right. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.